We're live.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I'm Senator Jim Dill. I'm the chair of the Inland Fisheries and Wildlife Committee, and I want to welcome you all here this morning. And we've got a real busy day, and the first thing we're going to do is introduce our committee. We do have 2 or 3 people that we're missing today. They're in other places, testifying on other bills or whatever, so there might be people in and out. So I just will tell you that up front. So with that, I will go through the list. Representative Neto, good morning.
Good morning, Senator Dill. Kathy Neto from Winslow, representing the town of Winslow and a small portion of Benton. Thank you.
Representative Landry.
Good morning. I'm Scott Landry. I represent District 113, the towns of Farmington and New Sharon.
Representative Hepler.
Good morning. Please ignore that home phone. I'm Allison Hepler. I represent the towns of Aroustic, Georgetown, Phippsburg, Woolwich, where I live, Dresden, and a small piece of Richmond.
Representative Mason.
Morning. Thank you, Senator Dill. I'm Rick Mason, District 56, representing the great folks of Lisbon.
Representative Terrio.
Thank you, Senator. Good morning. I am Representative Tim Terrio. I represent District 79, which is Albion, most of Benton, China, and Unity Plantation.
Representative Ordway.
Good morning, Senator. I'm Lester Ordway. I represent District 23, which is most of the town of Standish.
Representative Alley.
Good morning, Senator Dill. Robert Alley from down East Maine. I covered 12 communities: Jonesport, Beals, Addison, Columbia Falls, Centerville, Cherryfield, Marshfield, and Whitneyville. Thank you.
Senator Black, are you with us or are you testifying someplace?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm having trouble with my video. Good morning, Senator Black. I represent Senate District 17, which is all of Franklin County and 4 towns in Kennebec.
And Representative Lyford.
Yes, good morning, Senator. Peter Lyford, District 129, representing Clifton, Eddington, Holden, North Brewer, and Vesey.
Well, good morning, everyone. As I mentioned, I'm Senator Jim Dill. I represent District number 5, Northern Penobscot County. And for our meeting this morning, the confirmation hearings, our clerk is Linda LaCroix. And as I said, we have 3 confirmation hearings first. Then we have 4 public hearings and then followed by a work session. So we'll get started. Just a few reminders that it is electronic. Please unmute yourself when you're ready to speak. At all other times, please keep yourself muted. And for this session, you'll have 3 minutes to testify. And I will just remind everybody to be respectful at all times. If you're speaking on a nomination, that's exactly what you're doing. You're speaking on the nomination, not about the individual, so do not make it personal. And so with that, if there's nothing else, Representative Landry, do you have anything you want to add this morning before we start?
No, I just hope everybody had a great Easter and enjoyed.
Sounds good. Thank you. Our first confirmation hearing is Jennifer Gill of East Machias for appointment to Inland Fisheries and Wildlife Advisory Council. And I do have scripts that I have to read, and will read them so we can go ahead and then get into the process. This is a public hearing of the Joint Standing Committee on Inland Fisheries and Wildlife for the purpose of considering the nomination by the governor, Ms. Jennifer A. Gill of East Machias for appointment to the Inland Fisheries and Wildlife Advisory Council. Under the law and joint rules of the legislature, this committee is required to hold this public hearing to recommend confirmation or denial of the nomination of the nominee by majority vote of the committee members present and voting. As chairs of the committee, we'll then send written notice of the committee's recommendations to the President of the Senate. The committee will hear testimony from and have an opportunity to question the governor or a representative, the nominee, and any persons present who wish to speak for or against the nomination. This meeting is currently being live streamed on the committee's YouTube channel. And as we've already mentioned, make sure you mute yourself at all times until you're ready to speak. Motion to confirm. Pursuant to Title III, Section 157 of the main statutes, which requires that there be an affirmative motion to recommend confirmation of the nomination, the chair recognizes Representative Landry for the purpose of making this motion.
So moved.
Right. Okay, it has been moved by Representative Landry that Ms. Jennifer A. Steele of East Machias be moved forward for appointment to the Inland Fisheries and Wildlife Advisory Council.
I second.
You should have a copy of the, okay, it's been seconded. You should have a copy of the position announcement. And remember, when you speak, to speak clearly, say your name and who you represent. And first up will be the governor's representative, and that is Melissa what? O'Neill Lowe, sorry. I'll get it right after a while, Melissa.
That's okay. Thank you, Senator Dill, Representative Landry, and distinguished members of the Joint Standing Committee on Inland Fisheries and Wildlife. My name is Melissa O'Neill Lowe, and I am the Director of Boards and Commissions for Governor Janet T. Mills. I'm here today on behalf of the governor in support of the nomination of Jennifer Giel from East Machias as a member of the Inland Fisheries and Wildlife Advisory Council. The Inland Fisheries Wildlife Advisory Council can be found in Maine Revised Statutes under Title 12, Chapter 903, Section 10151. The council is made up of 10 members representing the 16 Maine counties. Members of the advisory council are appointed by the governor and have tasked with providing the department with recommendations for enhancing fisheries and wildlife resource management in the state. Ms. Giel will be representing the seat designated for Washington County. She is a graduate of Machias Memorial High School before attending the Maine American Institute of Banking. While there, she received diplomas in customer service, general banking, commercial lending, and bank and finance. From there, she began working as a supply specialist for the U.S. Army and later went on to become a commercial loan processor for Machias Savings Bank. She remained in this position until 2002 when she went on to work for the USDA as a Farm Service Agency farm loan technician. She now serves the USDA as a farm loan analyst. She is an avid outdoorswoman and knows the demographics of Washington County well. Between her background in finance and her passion for protecting the Maine outdoors, Ms. Giel makes a highly qualified candidate for this position. It is for these reasons that on behalf of Governor Mills, I would ask that you support the nomination of Jennifer Giel of East Machias. I would be happy to answer any questions that anyone may have this morning. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Are there any questions? All right. Seeing none.
Thank you.
I will continue next with Jennifer Giel to make a statement concerning her nomination. Good morning.
Good morning. Senator Jim Dale, Representative Scott Landry, members of the Inland Fisheries and Wildlife Advisory Council. My name is Jennifer Giel from East Machias, and I'm here today to discuss with you my nominations to the Inland Fisheries and Wildlife Advisory Council. I'm interested in serving on the committee as I am very passionate about Maine outdoors and what it has to offer everyone. I am well known in my community. I would like the opportunity to express the concerns of others in my community. I am an Army Gulf War veteran, avid hunter, fisherman, runner, and hiker. I can bring knowledge and perspective from my experiences and background. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Are there any questions from anyone? All right. Moving on. I will now take statements from the floor, and anyone who wishes to speak for or against the nomination. Anyone who has written information could send it in, or probably already has sent it in. Those who wish to speak in person, you should be already registered with the clerk, Linda. And make sure again, when you're called upon, that you state clearly that who you are and whether you're for or against the nomination. Be sure you say yes. When you're done speaking, you'll have 3 minutes to speak. And with that, I will move on to And I'm looking at my list here. Okay, first is Joe Bushy.
Senator, I have checked the room, the waiting room, and I do not see Joseph Bushy there.
Okay,
Oh, wait, Joe is actually the deputy here in our office. He won't be
okay.
testifying
I
today.
was just going to say.
Sorry for that
No,
confusion.
no problem. Got it.
Thank
Next is John Glower.
I am bringing him in now.
Yep.
Hello.
We can
Hi.
hear you, but we can't see you.
Okay, well, I'll accept that.
All right, we will too then.
All righty, thank you very much. My testimony deals with all three folks, so I'm just going to combine everything into one
Okay.
to save time.
Yep, absolutely.
Thank you. My name is John Glow. I live in South China. A main system of fish and wildlife management is corrupt and favors killing over conservation. The IFW Advisory Council has historically consisted of handpicked allies and supporters of IFW. The Advisory Council was not created by the legislature to represent just sportsmen and sportswomen. It was created to represent all of the people and to provide the checks and balances necessary for good government. In 2020, I submitted 3 rule change petitions to the Advisory Council involving predator killing contests, phasing out Maine's bear feeding program, and banning coyote trapping. All 3 were voted down unanimously without a word of discussion. There are no rules to govern the operation and conduct of the Advisory Council. When I presented an issue to the council several years ago and asked them to so advise the commissioner, I was met with blank stares. The council had no clue of what to do, so they did nothing. Times are changing and society is changing. The public is catching on. The days when the Advisory Council operates under the radar, serves as a rubber stamp for IFW, relies solely on biased information provided to it by the department, and represents only Maine sportsmen and sportswomen are coming to an end. They must come to an end. I oppose the nominations of Mr. Ward and Gautry and Ms. Giel. These nominations are evidence of the secret process of handpicking Advisory Council members. These nominations amount to a circling of the wagons. They are all representatives or supporters of a small minority special interest group, hunters. 2 are registered guides. None of the 3 nominees has demonstrated any knowledge or understanding of how government is supposed to work or the need for checks and balances in government. None has expressed any understanding that members of the Advisory Council are supposed to represent all Maine people. Ms. Giel's nomination is troubling because in 2011, a man who was apparently her husband proposed a coyote eradication program and that coyotes be considered vermin. We don't know her position on coyotes because state law prohibits the government from disclosing nominee contact information to the public. In her legislative staff questionnaire, Ms. Giel stated in part, quote, "I'm interested in preserving Maine's outdoor heritage and being a voice for sportsmen of Down East Maine," end quote. She apparently doesn't get it that the Advisory Council members represent all citizens. None of the 3 nominees has demonstrated any knowledge of or interest in non-game species. The Advisory Council is not supposed to be a lobby by and for hunters, but appointment of these individuals will continue to make it one. The people of Maine deserve better. We deserve an Advisory Council that represents and is representative of all Mainers. We deserve an Advisory Council that understands how government is supposed to function. We deserve an Advisory Council that has the knowledge, experience, and ability to think for itself and to change as society is changing. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Are there any questions that anyone has? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Suzanne Richard.
Senator, I'm sorry, I do not see Suzanne Richer in the waiting room.
Okay. And that's all I have on my list for this particular nominee. So we'll move on. All public comments having been taken, the committee will proceed as follows. We'll review any additional written comments, and then the vote must be on the nomination and notify the president of the Senate pursuant to Title III MSA, Section 157, the joint rules. The vote must be taken within 35 days. And we will move on to the next one. The hearing by the Joint Standing Committee on Inland Fisheries and Wildlife for Ms. Jennifer A. Giel of East Machias for appointment to the Inland Fisheries and Wildlife Advisory Council is closed. Taking the vote. In accordance with law, the committee may not take the vote on the nominee sooner than 15 minutes after the close of the public hearing unless all committee members who are present agree. Everybody in agreement that we can take it? Just raise your hand. All right. Therefore, let's see, there's no objection. So the pending question before the committee is that the Joint Standing Committee on Inland Fisheries and Wildlife recommend to the Senate of the 130th Maine Legislature that the nomination of Ms. Jennifer A. Giel of East Machias for appointment to the Inland Fisheries and Wildlife Advisory Council be confirmed. A vote of yes will be in favor of recommending the confirmation. A vote of no will be against the nomination. Please call the roll, Linda.
Representative Lyford.
Yes.
Representative Lyford votes yes. Representative Mason.
Yes.
Representative Mason votes yes. Representative Hepler.
Yes.
Representative Hepler votes yes. Senator Black.
Yes.
Senator Black votes yes. Senator Dill.
Yes.
Senator Dill votes yes. Representative Landry.
Yes.
Representative Landry votes yes. Representative Terrio.
Yes.
Representative Terrio votes yes. Representative Ordway.
Yes.
Representative Ordway votes yes. Representative Alley.
Yes.
Representative Alley votes yes. Representative Nedu.
Yes.
Representative Neto votes yes. And I'm not seeing Senator Curry, Representative Danny Martin, or Representative John Martin. Is that correct?
That is correct.
So we have 10 in favor, 3 absent.
Okay, so 10 members of the committee haven't voted in the affirmative and no members in the negative. It is the vote of the Standing Committee on Inland Fisheries and Wildlife that the nomination of Ms. Jennifer A. Giel of East Machias for appointment to the Inland Fisheries and Wildlife Advisory Council be confirmed. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And I will close this hearing and we'll move on to our next one, which is, let me see, who's next on my list? It's Eric.
That would be Michael. Oh, I'm sorry, I put in Michael Gautry.
On our list, it's Eric Ward. So,
All right, one moment then. I apologize. There are a lot of people in the waiting room.
Sure.
Oh, there he is. Okay, we found you. Hold on. I've moved him in or attempted to move him in twice and he doesn't seem to be working. I'm not sure why.
all right, we'll let you work on that. We'll just go out of order then and we'll take Michael Gautry since he seems to be in here. So let me just get my right paper. All right. Okay, we'll open the public hearing, confirmation hearing, I should say, on Michael Gautry of Yarmouth. So I will read my introductory statement again. This is a public hearing of the Joint Standing Committee on Inland Fisheries and Wildlife for the purpose of considering the nomination by the governor, Mr. Michael Gautry of Yarmouth, for the appointment to the Inland Fisheries and Wildlife Advisory Council. Under the laws and joint rules of the legislature, the committee is required to hold this public hearing and to recommend confirmation or denial, at which time then we will send written confirmation to the president of the Senate. This is being streamed, so again, please stay muted until you're ready to speak. And first, we'll go back down for a motion to concern pursuant to Title 3, Section 157 of the state statutes. I will recognize Representative Landry. Did I hear a motion there, Representative?
Yes, I do move Michael Gautry.
Okay, Michael Gautry has been moved for appointment to the Inland Fisheries and Wildlife Advisory Council. Again, you should have a copy of the information available. I will call on Melissa O'Neill Lowe to make a statement. You're bouncing around on this, so I keep looking for you.
I know. Yeah, it's like Hollywood Squares. Thank you, Senator Dill, Representative Landry, and distinguished members of the Joint Standing Committee on Inland Fisheries and Wildlife. My name, again, is Melissa O'Neill Lowe, and I am the Director of Boards and Commissions for Governor Janet T. Mills. I'm here this morning to talk to you about the support of the nomination of Michael Gautry of Yarmouth as a member of the Inland Fisheries and Wildlife Advisory Council. If it pleases the committee, I will skip over the statutory reference that I did read for the first nominee, and just note that Mr. Gautry is going into the seat on the council representing Cumberland County. Raised and educated in Maine, you've seen that Michael Gautry's formative years include fishing, hunting, outdoor recreation in the Western Mountains, Northern Forests, and Southern Coast. His passion for traditional outdoor pursuits led him to an education focused on environmental studies at Bowdoin College and business career in hunting, fishing, outdoor recreation, and travel. Over the past 20 years, he has held leadership roles at the Orvis Company, LL Bean, and is currently the Vice President Product at Corksicle, an insulated drinkware and cooler company. Because of personal interest in improving both the health of Maine's economy and its quality of place, he has recently held a nonprofit board seat and board chair role at the Maine Development Foundation. He volunteers at the Maine Community Foundation on a grant review committee focused on conservation. He is no stranger to public service and board participation. Additionally, as a registered master Maine guide, he understands the importance of the link between proper land, water, wildlife management as it relates to the quality of Maine's outdoor recreational experiences. It is for these reasons this morning that I've outlined above that on behalf of Governor Mills, I would ask that you support the nomination of Michael Gautry of Yarmouth to the Inland Fisheries and Wildlife Advisory Council. I'd be happy to answer any questions that any of you have this morning. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Are there any questions? All right, seeing none, I will now call on Mr. Gautry to make a statement.
Thank you. Senator Dill, Representative Landry, and distinguished members of the Joint Standing Committee on Inland Fisheries and Wildlife. My name is Michael Gautry. I live in Yarmouth, and I'm here today to discuss my nomination to the Inland Fisheries and Wildlife Advisory Council. I'm interested in serving on this council because of a lifelong appreciation of traditional outdoor pursuits and also the natural environments in which they take place. I moved to Rumford, Maine at a young age, and through support of family, friends, and community, was able to hunt, fish, camp, boat, hike, all throughout the Western Mountains and Rangeley regions. I moved to Brunswick, Maine to attend Bowdoin College. It's let me become familiar with the hunting and fishing opportunities in and around the coast and around southern Maine, especially waterfowl. A significant amount of my coursework was related to environmental studies. This let me learn about environmental policy and wildlife regulations. Career-wise, as mentioned, spent the majority of my years in the outdoor industry, focused on recreational product, and those jobs required me to spend considerable time understanding and having familiarity with state and federal law pertaining to hunting, fishing, access, management, and excise tax, and also allowed me to participate in industry boards and also nonprofit economic development boards. specifically focused to Maine. I have been a registered Maine guide for over 20 years. I got my guide's registration and to help participate in outdoor training courses, outdoor discovery schools at LL Bean, and have always appreciated what the state of Maine has for the expectations that it puts on guides and the focus on understanding Maine's regulations and legal requirements. And I think most importantly, my interest in serving on the Inland Fisheries and Wildlife Advisory Council is to help support and steward the long-term health management, access to the outdoor activities and resources available here in Maine. And I'd like to ensure that my two sons are able to have the same, if not better, outdoor experiences that I benefited from growing up in the state. Thank you for your time and consideration in this nomination process.
Thank you. Are there any questions? All right. Next, I'll take comments from people wishing to speak neither for nor against, or in favor of or against the nomination. And remember to state your name and place of residence. And with that, I'm ready to, first person is Michael LeBranch.
I don't see Michael LeBranch in the waiting room.
All right.
There is someone by phone number. I'm not sure who that might be.
Is there a way of asking that person, Linda?
I can allow it to talk, and but it'll probably pull it in. Let me see. Now it's jumped and I can't find him.
Okay. Well, that's all I had anyway for folks to testify. So with that, we will now move on. All public comments haven't been taken. The committee will now proceed as follows. We will again.
Wait, Senator, I'm sorry.
Yep.
Claire Perry is here, and she is neither.
Okay.
I've just pulled her in. And if he's here, there's also Douglas Wilson for neither.
For this particular one?
I'm sorry, no, you're right. I am so sorry.
I see them both for
yes.
one. And
you're correct. I am sorry.
Okay. So with that, I will conclude this portion of the public hearing, and we will take the vote. Mr. Michael Gautry of Yarmouth for appointment to the Inland Fisheries and Wildlife Advisory Council is closed, and now we'll take the vote, and I will ask if anyone has any issues with taking the vote right now. So if you're all in favor, just raise your hand. Everyone seems to be in favor that I can see. So again, a vote of yes is recommending the confirmation and no is against the confirmation. Linda, please call the roll.
Yes, Representative Nadu.
Yes.
Representative Nadu votes yes. Representative Ali.
Yes.
Representative Ali votes yes. Representative Ordway.
Yes.
Representative Ordway votes yes. Representative Terrio.
Yes.
Representative Terrio votes yes. Representative Landry.
Yes.
Representative Landry votes yes. Senator Dill.
Yes.
Senator Dill votes yes. Senator Black.
Yes.
Senator Black votes yes. Representative Hepler.
Yes.
Representative Hepler votes yes. Representative Mason.
Yes.
Representative Mason votes yes. And Representative Lyford.
Yes.
Representative Lyford votes yes. And that is again 10 in favor, 3 absent.
10 members of the committee haven't voted in the affirmative and none in the negative. It is the vote of the Joint Standing Committee on Inland Fisheries and Wildlife that the nomination of Mr. Michael Gautry of Yarmouth for appointment to the Inland Fisheries and Wildlife Advisory Council be confirmed. So again, congratulations.
Thank you.
And I will close the confirmation hearing, and we'll move on to our third confirmation hearing, which is for Mr. Eric Ward. And I'll just read that first paragraph again. This is a public hearing, the Joint Standing Committee on Inland Fisheries and Wildlife for the purpose of considering the nomination by the governor of Mr. Eric Ward of Greenville Junction for appointment to the Inland Fisheries and Wildlife Council. And with that, I would turn to my co-chair for a nomination.
I nominate Eric Ward for the Advisory Council, IFW.
All right, so Representative Landry has made a motion that the confirmation of Mr. Eric Ward of Greenville Junction for appointment to the Inland Fisheries and Wildlife Advisory Council. So with that, I will call on Melissa O'Neill Lowe again.
Thank you again, Senator Dill, Representative Landry, and distinguished members of the Joint Standing Committee on Inland Fisheries and Wildlife. I am still Melissa O'Neill Lowe, and I am the Director of Boards and Commissions for Governor Janet T. Mills. I'm here today on behalf of the Governor to speak to you in support of the nomination of Eric Ward of Greenville Junction as a member of the Inland Fisheries and Wildlife Advisory Council. Mr. Ward will be representing Piscataquis and Somerset counties in the seat reserved for those counties. It is a combined county seat. Mr. Ward is a longtime resident of Maine. He graduated from Maine Maritime Academy. After graduating, Mr. Ward became the Piscataquis County Commissioner and remained in this role for 8 years before starting his current role as the Chief Engineer for Oceaneering International. Outside of work, Mr. Ward is a master Maine guide and champion moose caller. He is no stranger to public service or board participation, having served on the Forest Society of Maine, the Maine Outdoor Heritage Fund, Maine Fishing Advisory Groups, and the Moosehead Historical Society, just to name a few. For these reasons mentioned this morning, on behalf of Governor Mills, I would ask that you support the nomination of Eric Ward of Greenville Junction to the Inland Fisheries Wildlife Advisory Council. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you for their time this morning.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Seeing none, I will now call on Mr. Ward for a statement.
Okay, can you hear me?
I can, and good morning.
Good morning to you, Senator Dill. I'd like to thank you and Representative Landry and the other members of the committee. As Melissa said, my name's Eric Ward. Born and brought up in Greenville, and I'd like to give an opportunity to discuss my nomination to the Inland Fisheries and Wildlife Advisory Council. My interest in the woods and waters of the state started early for me. I was drawn to the experience that watching animals grow and the forest change provided me. I've been fortunate to explore, discover, and learn. This has made me gravitate to those who are knowledgeable, well-traveled, and have seen more things in the forests and waters of northern Maine than I. It is through this desire to learn more and connect with those wiser that I have honed my skills in hunting and fishing. In addition to 45 years of outdoor experience, I've served on several fishing-related groups and organizations. I've also worked closely with IFW biologists and fisheries biologists. I've been a registered guide for nearly 30 years, and I've got a strong interest in Maine history. I welcome this opportunity to share what I've learned, not only from my own self-discovery, but the hours I've spent from those far smarter and wiser than me and that are no longer with us. I'd like to thank Governor Mills for nominating me and the legislative staff for their professional support during this process.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Mr. Ward? All right, seeing none, I will now take comments from the floor who we wish to speak either in favor of or against, or neither for nor against. Just be sure to state your name and residence when you speak. And the person I have ready is Claire Perry. So if you could unmute yourself.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. I think I'm going to pass on my testimony here. I really don't think it's relevant. I don't even have enough information on anybody to make a judgment. So I guess that's, unfortunate, but I can not in good faith say yay or nay. So I'm going to pass and just say neither for nor against. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is that it, Linda? I don't see anyone else that was on my list, so,
No, I don't either. The other people are not in the waiting room.
okay. So all public comments haven't been taken. I will ask if anyone has any objection. So all in favor of taking the vote now, please raise your hand. Looks like I see everybody's hand up. The pending question before the committee is that the Joint Standing Committee on Inland Fisheries and Wildlife recommended the Senate of the 130th Maine Legislature that the nomination of Mr. Eric Ward of Greenville Junction for appointment to the Inland Fisheries and Wildlife Advisory Council be confirmed. Yes is in favor, no is against. Linda, would you please call the roll?
Representative Lyford.
Yes.
Representative Lyford votes yes. Representative Mason.
Yes.
Representative Mason votes yes. Representative Hepler.
Yes.
Representative Hepler votes yes. Senator Black.
Yes.
Senator Black votes yes. Senator Dill.
Yes.
Senator Dill votes yes. Representative Landry.
Yes.
Representative Landry votes yes. Representative Terrio.
Yes.
Representative Terrio votes yes. Representative Ordway.
Yes.
Representative Ordway votes yes. Representative Alley.
Yes.
Representative Alley votes yes. Representative Nadeau.
Yes.
Representative Nadeau votes yes. And again, we have 10 in favor and 3 absent.
10 members of the committee haven't voted in the affirmative and none in the negative. It is the vote of the Joint Standing Committee on Inland Fisheries and Wildlife that the nomination of Mr. Eric Ward of Greenville Junction for appointment to the Inland Fisheries and Wildlife Advisory Council be confirmed. Congratulations, sir.
Thank you. I very much appreciate it.
Commissioner, would you like to say something on behalf of everybody or on behalf of yourself?
Yes, thank you, Senator Dill and Representative Landry and members of the committee. Again, I'm Judy Camuso, Commissioner of Maine Fish and Wildlife, and I just want to really thank all 3 of the new council members for being willing to donate their time, knowledge, and efforts to help the department. As you all know, my goal as commissioner is to try and base all of our decisions on good, sound science, and with public support. I really was looking for folks that were connected in the community that would be good representatives for their counties and would provide good feedback to our council. And I think you've all seen that we've got 3 really outstanding candidates, and I'm so pleased to have them on board to work with. And I thank you all for supporting the governor's nomination, and I look forward to working with all 3 of them and the rest of our council soon. Also, like it noted that Eric is actually in Norway. I was hoping he'd have some glaciers in the background, but so
Wow.
thank you all.
Neat, very good. Thank you. And with that, I will close our public hearings this morning on confirmation hearings. And Linda has asked for 5 minutes to switch gears to get ready for our Zoom meeting on public hearings. So don't go away. It's truly going to be 5 minutes. My computer clock says 10:42, so at 10:47, we're going to start. Linda, go ahead. Representative Life, did you have a question while we're waiting?
Yes, I did, Senator. Do we have a reconsideration on our agenda?
It's on our agenda later today. Yep.
Thank you.
Yep. All right, everybody want to turn your video back on? We will begin. It's 10:47. And we're going to have 4 public hearings. And we'll start with LD 943. And I, again, would remind everybody to please stay muted until you're called upon to testify or ask a question. And be sure, committee members, it is a question. And remember that you will have 3 minutes to testify, starting with those in favor of the bill, followed by those against, and then finally with those neither for nor against. So with that, I will open up the public hearing on LD 943, which is an act to improve turkey tagging by allowing electronic tagging. And this is presented by Representative Mason. Good morning, Mr. Representative.
Good morning, Senator Dill and Representative Landry and my honorable colleagues on IFW committee. I'm presenting this bill, LD 943, an act to improve turkey tagging by allowing electronic tagging with the purpose of improving turkey hunting in Maine. This bill will aid the management of turkey flock by enabling turkey hunters to tag more easily with electronic convenience. Many hunters do not hunt turkeys because of work situations or time needed to travel to tagging stations to have it legally tagged. Some of these tagging stations could be 20 miles away. To go off script a little bit, that's probably the main reason I haven't hunted turkeys in many years, because of time when I running a business and it just took too much of time to do that. Many of our tagging stations are mom and pop stores, which have been bought out by, larger conglomerates like Irving, and they don't offer it anymore. Any tagging at all of deer or bear or any of the, any of our animals that we tag. A side benefit during the current pandemic, as we enable better social distancing, I also believe this tagging method would be more appealing to young turkey hunters, knowing they can tag their game immediately in the field with their smartphones. In conclusion, the ease of electronic tagging will help keep the turkey population better managed. My testimony is short, but I think you have the drift of it, and I just think it would be a great tool to keep our flock down. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Are there any questions for Representative Mason? Representative Lightfoot.
Thank you, Senator. Representative Mason, what about some other states? Aren't they doing that at this time?
Yes, there's a great number of states that allow electronic tagging, quite a few actually. I'm not sure exactly of the number, but a great deal of them.
Thank you.
Seeing no other hands, we will turn to our Nate Webb. So would you let Nate Webb in if he's not in yet? Oh, there he is.
I'm here.
Good morning.
Good morning. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Great. Thank you. Good morning, Senator Dill, Representative Landry, and members of the Inland Fisheries and Wildlife Committee. I am Nate Webb, Wildlife Division Director for the department, speaking in opposition to LD 943. This bill requires the Commissioner of Inland Fisheries and Wildlife to establish a system for electronically tagging wild turkeys and allows a person to electronically tag a wild turkey pursuant to that system. The department relies on in-person registration of deer, bear, moose, and turkey to determine the number of each species harvested by hunters. This information is used to inform management recommendations, including setting season dates, bag limits, and permit numbers. Although some states do allow harvest to be reported electronically or by phone, the current system used in Maine has several significant advantages over a system that relies on self-reporting. And the first of those is data quality. Requiring in-person registration of deer, bear, moose, and turkey by tagging results in improved accuracy compared to a system that relies on self-reporting. The current system allows us to determine harvest with nearly perfect accuracy all the way down to the town level. States that rely on hunters to self-report their harvest typically see lower levels of compliance and must conduct follow-up surveys to estimate the non-compliance rate and correct harvest estimates. Our current system, which essentially serves as a complete real-time record of legal harvest, allows department staff to make management recommendations with more confidence than would be the case if harvest data were estimated. In some cases, this allows us to provide hunting opportunities that would not be offered if the data were less reliable. The second area is enforcement. The department's current registration system also has several enforcement-related benefits compared to a self-reporting system. By requiring hunters to present their animal to a tagging agent for registration, we believe the current system prevents some individuals from undertaking illegal activities or from providing false information during the registration process. Although difficult to quantify, we believe that more individuals would choose to violate the law if they were not required to have a third independent party review and verify their information. In addition, as agents of the department, tagging station attendees report dozens of potential violations to Warden Service every year. These would go undetected if hunters could self-report. And finally, the final area is collection of biological samples. Requiring in-person registration of harvested animals allows the department to work with our network of tagging agents to collect biological samples. This would not be possible with a system that relied on self-reporting. Currently, tagging agents collect teeth from bear and deer, teeth, ovaries, and tick counts from moose, and bands, tags, and radio transmitters from all 4 species. All of this information is critical to our management programs and contributes to the department's ability to provide as much hunting opportunity as possible while ensuring that populations of these species remain healthy. As an example, I know that many committee members are familiar with our long-running work to monitor the state's bear population. We have tagged thousands of bears over the past 40 years. Requiring in-person registration ensures that we know the fate of virtually every single tagged bear that is legally harvested by hunters and can use this information to determine harvest rates and estimate population size. The department has made significant strides over the past few years to modernize our registration system, including collecting data through a web-based form and providing real-time information on harvest levels on our website. Tagging stations are constantly reviewed and strategically located to minimize driving distances for hunters. Many small businesses, especially those in rural parts of the state, appreciate the additional business that hunters bring to their stores. Although some other states have successfully implemented a self-reporting system to estimate harvest levels, many of these states have significantly higher harvest levels than Maine and are therefore less reliant on precise data. Other states often express how envious they are of our tagging system and the unparalleled information it provides on game harvests. We believe the current system in Maine is the gold standard and allows the department to do the best job possible in managing our wildlife. As you know, this bill specifically addresses registration requirements for wild turkeys. Over the past several years, we have worked to update our turkey management system, including partnering with the University of Maine on a 4-year research project with a goal of improving our understanding of wild turkey biology and population size at the WMD level. A cornerstone to this work is maintaining a consistent quality spring registration system. However, we have determined that even though fall turkey registration is helpful in enforcing bag limits and collecting biological data, it is not as important as the spring harvest to successfully manage turkeys. We also recognize that fall turkey registration places more of a burden on hunters due to higher bag limits that necessitate multiple trips to tagging stations. Therefore, our suggestion would be for the committee to consider amending this bill by repealing the current proposed language and instead remove the requirement for hunters to register turkeys harvested during the fall season. We feel this approach will reduce some of the burden on hunters while still allowing us to collect the information most needed to successfully manage turkeys in Maine. And I'd be happy to answer any questions at this time or during the work session.
Representative Lightfoot.
Nate, thank you for your testimony. Do you have any idea how many banded turkeys or radio transmitters are on turkeys in this state?
I don't have that precise information. I believe we've tagged about 400 over the past few years, but I can get that for you for the work session. We did not tag turkeys this past winter, so the number this year will be lower than the past few years.
And transmitters, are they still putting transmitters on them? You
We
know?
did not do that this past year.
Have they done it at all in the past?
Yes, like I mentioned, we did just wrap up a 4-year project with the University of Maine that did involve placing transmitters on turkeys.
Thank you.
Representative Mason. Rick, you're muted.
I'm sorry. Thank you, Senator Dill. Nate, how many people do you know, and this may not be a question for you, but how many people have been summoned or investigated for not tagging a turkey? Do you have that kind of information?
It's a great question, Representative Mason. I don't have that at my fingertips. I'm sure we can gather that information for the work session, working with the Warden Service to do that.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions? All right. Any other representatives, legislators that want to testify in favor of this bill? Representative Stetkis.
Senator Dill. Good morning. Good morning, Senator Dill, Representative Landry, and the Inland Fisheries and Wildlife Committee. I'm Joel Stetkis, and I represent District 105, which are the towns of Canaan, Palmyra, St. Albans, Hartland, Ripley, and Cambridge on the southern frontier of the Moosehead Lakes region. I'm here in support of LD 943, an act to improve turkey tagging by allowing electronic tagging. So currently in our state, there are about 200 traditional game tagging stations for registering turkeys, sprinkled among our 35,385 square miles. In my own personal experience inside my little sliver of the state, it's not unreasonable to travel an hour or more round trip to register a turkey. All the hunters I know have no issue with the time, travel, or expense when it comes to registering a deer, a bear, or even a moose, but turkeys are a completely different story. The reality in rural Maine is that the expanding number of tagging stations at our traditional mom and pop corner stores is very unlikely to expand, since we have seen many of them go out of business or be replaced by the corporate retailers like Cumberland Farms or urban gas stations. This reality creates an issue where prospective turkey hunters just choose not to participate or can't due to time constraints, with multiple negative effects, such as controlling the population and dividing the cost of management between fewer hunters, making it much more expensive for each hunter, which in effect creates an even bigger ripple effect. The idea for this bill came from the most avid, fanatical turkey hunter I know, my wife. As a town clerk, her work hours are 8 to 4, except for on Wednesdays, where she goes in at 11 a.m. Getting out to hunt turkeys at 4:30 or 5 a.m. in the morning on Wednesdays allows for plenty of time for a successful hunt and get to work, but doesn't allow for an extra hour or two for driving, tagging, and registering. Even the most avid turkey hunters struggle with justifying the cost of the license, gear, and travel if it means only having a handful of Saturdays to hunt, rain or shine. Throughout Maine, there are a lot of hunters who work shift work in paper mills and factories who have the same issue. Many of these folks would be more likely to participate if it were easier or less time consuming and less expensive. It appears that a lot of states have some sort of electronic type of tagging or registration process in the form of an app for a smartphone or email type system. And when it comes to providing for the vital information and data that it takes to manage their respective turkey populations and maintain an attractive hunting experience. Thank you for your time, and please save my marriage by supporting LD 943. If I could, I'd like to kind of go over a couple of the points that the IFW had proposed earlier. Unfortunately, somehow, some way, with a bill that says an act to improve turkey tagging, bear and deer and moose got dragged into this, and the quality of the, the quality of the data that's brought forward on that stuff. I completely support that. I've been doing that for 40 plus years. I wish that we could keep with the traditions that we've had in my own communities. Two of the towns that I represent, Cambridge and Ripley, neither one of them actually even have a mom and pop store anymore, never mind a place to even have a tagging station. In my own town, there's one store left, and the one that actually tags deer and doesn't even tag turkeys. They're in the process of being purchased by, I think, like Tradewinds or something like that. So in my town, there won't even be a tagging station at all. In my own case, with my wife being the avid turkey hunter, there's one place to tag turkeys, and a lot of times where she likes to hunt is a 45-minute drive in one direction, and happens to be in the opposite direction of home. So you're talking, if you're enough to have a successful hunt, you're driving 45 minutes in one direction, 45 minutes back home, get ready, go to work, those sorts of things. It makes the idea for a lot of folks to turkey hunt very unattractive. The other thing is the one place that we do actually register turkeys is a small supermarket in Heartland, Maine. And we go into the supermarket and wait in line at the checkout line, where she's, every time it's been a woman. So the young woman will, as she gets done scanning the groceries, and then it's our turn in line, we let her know that there's we want to tag a turkey. So she goes from scanning groceries to getting her checklist. And the process is basically she reads off a form that we have to give her all the information. In the cases of tagging turkeys at this point in time, the people I've dealt with, they don't know one end of the turkey from the other. So the idea that somehow they're gathering information that we don't already have is not the case. So we already have the information that's being entered on the forms. If in this situation, if those forms could be made either available electronically or through an email system, we simply fill in the blanks. And for this person to come out and tag that bird, they wouldn't know where to look to inspect for any sort of a whole lot different than a bear or a deer or something like that, where you're looking at the teeth or you're looking at different biologic parts. That's not the case in my experience with turkeys. So we're not comparing apples to apples here. Another point was the idea of false information, or not reporting, which it's a valid concern. And as an avid hunter, that's a concern of mine as well. But the other concern is, and I've worked with IFW very successfully with game depredation. Is I live in dairy farmland, and a lot of the farmers are having to dispatch these turkeys to save their grains and their crops and those sorts of things. I'm wondering if in that situation, how many of those turkeys are being reported, and if any of that biological information is being passed along, or any of those sorts of things. So that would be a question there. I think we'd be more successful if we made it easier for hunters to hunt these birds as opposed to farmers having to dispatch them. Sorry that went so long, but I would also be in support of an amendment for the fall season. Obviously, we're only 3 or 4 weeks from the spring season. That doesn't allow much time. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions for Representative Stetkis? Seeing none, thank you.
Thank you.
Next on my list is David Trahan. Good morning, Mr. Trahan. Would you unmute yourself, please?
Good morning. Sorry for the little delay there. I had to kick everybody out of my office. We're doing a big mail day. Anyway, I apologize. The Honorable Senator Dill, Representative Landry, members of the Inland Fisheries and Wildlife Committee. My name is David Trahan. I'm the Executive Director of the Sportsmen's Alliance of Maine Institute for Legislative Action, speaking in support of LD 943, an act to improve turkey tagging by allowing electronic tagging. This bill has been before the committee several times, and each year we are told by the department to be conservative in this approach to tagging turkeys. We have been patient, but it is time for the committee to consider changing this policy. Turkeys are populating most of Maine, and a few people are hunting them, except in the spring. And if an electronic tagging system encourages more hunters to take up turkey hunting, it has our blessing. Thank you.
Are there any questions for Mr. Trahan? Seeing none, thank you. Linda, that's all I have on my list for LD 943. Is that correct?
Yes, that's all I have also.
Thank you. And I will close the hearing on LD 943, and we'll move on to our next one. Before I do, I will ask Senator Curry to introduce himself.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm Chip Curry. I'm State Senator representing SD Senate District 11, which represents the 26 rural, coastal, and island communities of Waldo County.
Great, thank you. And with that, I will open up the hearing on LD 1015, an act to ban hunting with ammunition that contains lead. And to present that is Representative Roeder.
Hello, good morning. Thank you so much. Good morning, Senator Dill, Representative Landry, and distinguished members of the Joint Standing Committee on Inland Fisheries and Wildlife. My name is Amy Rader, and I represent House District 125, which includes part of Bangor. I'm here to present LD 1015, an act to ban hunting with ammunition that contains lead. This bill prohibits the use of ammunition that contains lead while hunting in Maine and fines those who violate this prohibition. When lead bullets are used, they have the ability to kill much more than the game the hunter is after. The shrapnel from bullets can end up in water sources and can be eaten by other animals, thus harming and potentially killing them, which also impacts hunters. And now, if you will, I'm going to diverge from my written testimony just a bit. This bill was brought to me by a constituent, and in my district, we're right up on the Kenduskeag. We see the eagles that are getting sick and dying because of lead shrapnel. This is an issue that I think is very important. It is very timely, and the process needs to be begun now. And I use the word process very deliberately here. My bill, as it is written, is a mortar shell when a scalpel was needed. And as such, I've asked my aide to send around a sponsor's amendment to this bill, encouraging that rather than an entire ban, that the bill be amended to include a phasing out of lead ammunition over a period of time. What I have heard from opponents to my bill, most of whom have been incredibly friendly and gracious, and I appreciate that, is that there are no alternative ammunition. There is very little alternative ammunition that is readily available in the state that has the same efficacy and the same expense. As someone who knows quite a few subsistence hunters, I'm not okay with this ban being in place before an alternative is present. So while I do want to encourage the conversation to begin on lead ammunition, I would love to introduce that amendment for a work session. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Any questions for Representative Rader? All right, seeing none. Next for the department is Nate Webb again.
Representative Alley had his hand up, Senator.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see it. Representative Alley, do you have a question?
Yes, I did. I was wondering, she said that she knew that those eagles that were dying was killed with lead shot. How'd she know that?
That was reported to me by the constituent who asked me to put the bill in. It was Avian Haven, I believe, that did the care of those eagles. I'm trying to look back through my documentation here. But as I'm aware, it was Avian Haven that made the diagnosis of lead poisoning with that. But we do know that lead is something that kills any number of animals out there in the wild. That's why we federally banned lead shot for the hunting of waterfowl. That's why we've gotten rid of lead weights for fishing. We don't want to put that lead into the environment.
Representative Mason.
Thank you, Senator Dill. Thank you, Representative Rhoda. Do you have a favorite caliber that you hunt with?
No, but my cousins do. As you are probably asking, I am not a hunter, but as I said, I come from a hunting family. I come from a hunting community. I have no desire to harm hunters in this. I have no desire to ban hunting. And the thing that I was told over and over and over again is that the alternatives are just not ready yet. They're not there yet. And I do believe that the hunters I know and love would be more than willing to switch to that alternative should they be available, should they be as efficacious, and should they be as inexpensive. So I would encourage that this issue proceed with an eye towards amending my bill to include a timeline.
Follow-up question. Has there been a survey of hunters that you know of that, hunters that are in favor or opposed? Do you know if there's anything like that?
I spoke with the Department of Inland Fisheries and Wildlife, and I am leaning on their particular monitoring of the situation. They were the ones that told me the alternatives were not yet ready and that hunters are not in favor of an entire ban on lead shot at this moment.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Representative Ordway.
Yes, good morning, Representative. Just a quick, given that the alternatives are not there, would you say this is a little premature until we can, until we can get manufacturers to come up with something?
Yes.
And a cost effective so that we're not harming the subsistence hunters. And I just got a feeling we're a little premature with this.
Yes, and that's why I am looking forward to putting forward a friendly sponsors amendment, phasing out lead ammunition over a period of time until such time as those alternatives are available and inexpensive.
Representative Landry. You're muted, Representative Landry.
I have done this before. Thank you, Senator Dill. Representative Rhoda, are you talking a ban on all lead ammunition? That means for rifles as well as shotguns, or are you talking just about shot?
Just about shot at this time.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Representative Alley, do you have a question? Representative Alley, you're muted. There you go.
I'll hold off on it.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other questions? Representative Mason.
Thank you, Senator Dill. This is probably not a question, but it's more like a comment. We just had a bill last session on rubber laws, and it come down to, fishermen just weren't ready. They don't have an alternative, and it's looking like this bill may be headed the same direction. I mean, I know people that have a lot of rounds, and it'd be pretty expensive, just like the law situation with the fishermen. Thank you.
Are there any other questions? Representative Terrio.
Yes, I heard her say it's only for shot, and that would mean that We already have that law. Shot is already required to be steel. So I'm confused about what this law is going to do.
I would ask the question also, isn't, if the representative knows, the ban on shot is only for waterfowl, perhaps, not other?
The federal ban is for waterfowl.
Thank you. Representative Mason, did you have another question or just didn't put your hand down?
Sorry, I need to lower my hand.
Representative Alley.
Yes, I'd like to speak here one more time on this. So far, they've already got down that they want to do away with the lead lures in the case of the loons. What else are they going to take away from us?
Sir, that's kind of it. I put this bill in asking for a ban on something that is harmful, something that really hurts the environment in the state of Maine. But the intent was absolutely not to take anything away from hunters. Like I said, there are people in my hometown that don't eat if they don't hunt. And I would never want to do anything to prevent people from providing for their families. And also, the state of Maine gets a lot of revenue from hunters coming here, or from the people in the state hunting. It would be cutting off our nose to spite our face if it were an immediate ban. I would love for this to have a gradual implementation in such a way that it does not harm hunters. And as such, I would love for hunters to be part of the conversation.
Representative Ordway.
Thanks, Senator. I think maybe a statement, maybe. I think if we're really serious about lead, we should look at things like solar panels loaded with lead. And we're putting those all over the state of Maine, all over. Tons and tons of lead in solar panels. And we're looking at something as minuscule as shotgun pellets. If you're truly interested in getting rid of lead, let's look at some of the big projects that have lead.
With respect, Representative Ordway, solar panels don't fragment and get into the soil, and they're not eaten by eagles and poison eagles. They're meant to stay intact. And when we dispose of solar panels, there are processes for doing that. When they are out of commission and retired, we dispose of them in a safe manner, as we do with any batteries that are out there as well.
Are there other questions? Seeing none, thank you for introducing the bill, Representative Radom.
Thank you. And if you don't mind, I have to step out. I'm still in committee on another Zoom.
Sure, no problem.
Thank you.
Next up is Nate Webb, followed by Ryan Robbins, Lynn Ellis, and Gina Gary.
Good morning again, Senator Dill, Representative Landry, and members of the Inland Fisheries and Wildlife Committee. I'm Nate Webb, Wildlife Division Director at the department, speaking on behalf of the department in opposition to LD 1015. This bill prohibits the use of ammunition that contains lead when hunting in the state. Individuals who violate this prohibition receive a warning for the first offense. Individuals who repeatedly violate this prohibition commit a civil violation resulting in a $100 fine for a second offense, with a penalty increasing by $50 for each subsequent offense. Our department has a long history in working with hunters and anglers to minimize the impacts of lead on wildlife, using a combination of education and regulatory approaches where appropriate. Historically, these efforts focused on the use of lead ammunition by waterfowl hunters and the use of lead sinkers and lead jigs by anglers. Over the past year, we have embarked on an educational campaign to encourage hunters to use non-lead ammunition when hunting for big game. This effort includes information on the potential impacts of lead ammunition on wildlife, particularly birds of prey, how to make the switch from lead ammo, and sources of non-lead ammunition. More details on our efforts can be found on our website. We have sent this information directly to tens of thousands of Maine hunters and have also distributed it widely using our social media platforms over the past few months. Once the pandemic subsides and ammunition becomes more available, We are planning to expand this program to include demonstrations and in-person events. Our department is a member of the North American Non-Lead Partnership, and we work closely with other fish and wildlife agencies on this issue. I meet regularly with other wildlife directors across the Northeast to discuss ways to encourage hunters to use non-lead ammunition while afield. Excuse me. And I have personally used non-lead ammunition for hunting big game for almost 15 years. Although this bill is well-intentioned, we feel strongly that here in Maine, legislation is not an appropriate response to concerns related to impacts of lead ammunition on eagles and other raptors. Fish and wildlife agencies across the country have found that encouraging hunters to make the switch voluntarily is more effective and less divisive than enacting regulations, which are likely to be met with stiff resistance and low compliance. We are confident that by focusing on education and finding common ground, we can make significant progress on this important issue. And I would be happy to answer any questions at this time or during the work session.
Are there any questions? Representative Terrio. You're muted, Representative.
That's awful. I can't believe I did that. Yes, Nate, I was just curious if you're aware of any large number of eagles that we're losing. I mean, as far as I know, we have a very good population of eagles right now, and I am not aware of any huge problem of eagles dying, unless I'm confused.
So you're correct. The population of eagles in Maine is doing very well. They were delisted from our Maine endangered species list in 2009. The population continues to grow. We have over about 730 nesting pairs in the state right now, which is more than existed in the entire lower 48 when eagles were first listed federally. That being said, there are a number of eagles that are succumbing to lead poisoning each year due to ingestion of lead bullet fragments and lead ammunition. The past few years, there's been about 10 to 20 per year that our friends at Avian Haven have documented to succumbing from lead poisoning.
There are other questions? All right.
Could I have a follow-up on that, Jim?
Sure.
Please. Not only are eagles predators, but I mean, hawks must be part of this also. I mean, is there a pattern that we're seeing of this, or I mean, I'm just curious. I just hate seeing us go in a direction on a small number.
Yeah, that's a great question. The primary impacts that we're seeing and that are being seen nationwide are impacts to avian scavengers. So those are birds that are scavenging meat sources found in the landscape. So the California condor out west is the best example, and that has led to some regulations surrounding the use of lead ammunition in California in particular. But it's those birds of prey that are scavengers, which here in Maine, certainly eagles are the highest profile species that fit into that category.
Anyone else have any questions for Dr. Webb? All right, seeing none, thank you for your testimony. So next is Ryan Roberts.
Thank you. Senator Dill, Representative Landry, distinguished members of the committee, my name is Ryan Robbins, and I'm a resident of Bangor. I'm the one who asked Representative Roeder to introduce this bill. I want to begin by telling you what this bill is not. It is not an attempt to get a foot in the door to eventually outlaw hunting or to discourage anyone from hunting. I have no ties to any special interest groups. I fully support hunting. In fact, I was surprised to see that this bill did not provide for phasing out lead ammunition's use in hunting, and I was very pleased to see that Representative Roeder would like to amend her bill to have a phasing out period. This bill is about conservation and public health. Opponents argue that because Maine's bald eagle population is thriving, that it's somehow acceptable for bald eagles and other raptors to be collateral damage from the use of lead ammunition. It is not acceptable. The human population is 7.8 billion and climbing. No one is suggesting that we should bring back leaded gasoline, lead paint, and lead pipes because we are not in danger of becoming extinct. True conservation demands that we treat wildlife humanely. Ethical hunting demands that we take only what we intend to take. This is a major lesson in the state's hunter safety program. When a hunter takes a deer, that is all they should take, not an eagle. By continuing to use lead ammunition in hunting, we are failing in our commitment to conservation and ethical hunting. Lead poisoning of raptors from lead ammunition is real. I implore you to take this issue seriously and pay close attention to my written testimony, in which I lay out only a fraction of the evidence. Lead poisoning cases rise in the fall during hunting season and spike in the winter when eagles depend more and more on carrion. There is no disputing this. Lead poisoning cases drop dramatically in the summer when eagles feed primarily on fish. People who eat game meat have higher levels of lead in their body than those who don't eat game meat. There is no disputing this. No amount of lead is safe. The state's hunter safety course teaches hunters to learn about wildlife and support wildlife conservation programs. The course teaches hunters to leave the land better than you found it. That means not leaving toxic lead behind. There are effective and affordable alternatives to lead. In a perfect world, we wouldn't need this legislation. People would do the right thing. But we don't live in a perfect world. Education is not enough, and that's why we need this legislation. We need to do more. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Representative Mason.
Yes, thank you, Senator Dill. Thank you, sir, for your testimony. You're talking about lead ammunition for hunting in the bill. Would this include shooting ranges?
No, just for hunting.
Okay, thank you.
Representative Lyford.
Thank you, Senator. Thank you for your testimony, sir. In doing some of the research, have you come across any of the larger manufacturers that are working on some other method other than lead?
I included in my written testimony, which I hope you guys have gotten, there was a study done by a researcher from the Royal Swedish Academy of Sciences, in which he went through all the various cartridges and calibers that are available. And that study was actually done in 2013. And he also compared the prices of primarily it was copper, and he compared the prices with lead ammunition.
I was kind of thinking, like Winchester, Remington, the big manufacturers, if they had started any process that way. If you know that. That study, of which I have a link of in my written testimony, he actually shows you which manufacturers. I don't have the actual study in front of me at this instant. Thanks.
Are there any other questions? Representative Mason.
Thank you, Senator Dill. Sir, do you know of any other states that have banned lead ammunition?
California has. They started phasing it out, I think in 2013 is when they started phasing it out to protect the California condor, and the full effect, lead was banned completely, I believe in 2019.
Thank you very much.
Are there any other questions? All right, seeing none. Next is Lynn Ellis.
Good morning. Good morning, members of the Inland Fisheries and Wildlife Committee. My name is Lynn Ellis. I live in Brunswick, Maine, and I was born and raised in Old Town near the Penobscot River. I speak to you today in support of LD 1015. I'm going to change my public testimony a little bit from my written testimony that I submitted earlier, just because I don't want to repeat everything that's been said. I would first start to say that I applaud the Maine Department of Inland Fisheries and Wildlife for their efforts in trying to get the information out to hunters of the devastation that the lead ammunition does to the eagle population. I'm an avid eagle watcher. I watch live eagle cams in other states. And I am also a supporter of Avian Haven, who takes in these eagles that are found by volunteers who are very seriously ill. Their report at the end of 2020 was 25 eagles that were brought in, only 3 of which survived after extensive treatment. And I'm guessing we cannot possibly know how many more eagles are affected that are never found. And these could be one or more of nesting pairs, which means the survival of the young as well. So we've built up this incredibly wonderful population of eagles, of which we use as a national symbol for freedom. I know that historically hunters in Maine are responsible, and I'm just appealing to you all as someone who looks at the humanity of this situation. I would disagree with Representative Roeder that it is not premature. It is time, when we know that eagles are dying every day in this season by a terrible poisoning. Avian Haven, if you go to their website and you look at some of the pictures, it's quite alarming. Eagles exhibit loss of balance, gasping, tremors, and impaired ability to fly. Emaciation follows, and death can occur within 2 to 3 weeks. What a horrible way to die. I'm a retired social worker. My career was dedicated to being a voice for those who are unable to speak for themselves, children, the disabled, and the disenfranchised. So today I add my voice on behalf of bald eagles in our state who are only doing what is natural for their survival. I urge you to pass this bill to strengthen the protection of this majestic raptor species in our state. And I thank you for your time today.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Ms. Ellis? All right, seeing none. Again, thank you for your testimony. Next up is Gina Gary, followed by John Glower, David Trahan, and Don Kleiner.
Okay, good morning. Can you all hear me?
Yes. You're muted now, though. Ms. Gary, you're muted.
I just unmuted myself again. I'm not sure what happened when I turned to my remarks. It seemed that it triggered that. Let me try that again.
No, you're okay right now, so, yep.
Okay, great. Yes, good morning. The Honorable Senator Dill, Representative Landry, and members of the Committee of Inland Fisheries and Wildlife. Thank you for your time today. I am here today in support of LD 1015, an act to ban hunting with ammunition that contains lead. It is long past time to remove this toxic substance from our environment here in Maine. It poisons wildlife and waterways and is toxic to humans and companion animals as well. This legislation is a welcome development and a sign of progress for our cherished wildlife and the environment. It was 40 years ago that the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service banned the use of lead ammunition in waterfowl hunting. And I am shocked that it's taken up to 40 years to get to the point of even considering a more wildlife protective policy on our federal lands as well as here in Maine. It is notable that California already bans it entirely in the state for hunting purposes. Here in Maine, there is simply no reason to continue using ammunition that is poisoning wildlife and our waterways, especially with respect to our bald eagles. There were 4 reported lead poisoning cases of bald eagles inside of 1 week following the 2020 hunting season. 3 of those birds suffered a slow and painful death, while an immature eagle that was also poisoned ultimately responded to intense rehabilitation and intervention by an experienced wildlife medical team. At the start of last year, 8 more bald eagles were reported to have died following the hunting season, leaving citizen-funded nonprofit wildlife centers to pick up the tab. I want to digress from my prepared remarks to simply comment on the previous testimony to say that there are clearly more eagles dying than I have reported here. That information has been documented, and I want to thank the previous testimony presented, those folks for presenting more up-to-date information on the deaths of eagles. And I think it would be an abandonment of our efforts to conserve our wonderful population of eagles here in Maine that has recovered, and it would be very short-sighted not to find ways to protect them. Having said that, I want to thank the Department of Inland Fisheries and Wildlife, who has encouraged hunters to use non-lead ammunition to improve hunter and wildlife safety. And it's important for the committee to note that that is an important element of the work that we're doing here today, improving hunter and wildlife safety. And that is our goal. This season's outcome, in spite of that education, this season outcome for lead ammunition-based bald eagle deaths underscores the need for a ban on its use, along with implementing consequences for violating that ban through monetary fines and civil penalties. With alternative ammunition available that doesn't keep killing after it's out of the barrel, it's just pure laziness for some hunters to continue to use this environmentally hazardous material. It's time to give these hunters a basic rule to abide by, preventing the painful slow death of our bald eagles from the ingestion of lead from carcasses left to rot by hunters. I recently heard Congresswoman Shelley Pingree on Maine Public Radio and was interested to hear her field a question about the continued use of lead ammunition on national wildlife refuges. I was encouraged to hear the Congresswoman align herself with the caller, who said that the use of this toxic ammunition must stop, especially on federal lands, specifically set aside for wildlife. In fact, she responded to the caller by saying, "I'm going to get on this today. Please support a robust ought-to-pass recommendation for LD 1015 and give the Maine legislature an opportunity to vote on this important measure to ban lead ammunition in Maine." I do want to also add that I support Representative Roeder's proposed friendly amendment to introduce a schedule, a timeline with which to introduce this ban and to integrate more appropriate ammunition for our hunters here in Maine, and look forward to that work session. Thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you. Are there any questions? All right, seeing none. Next, we have John Glowa.
Can you folks hear me okay?
Yes.
Thank you very much. My name is John Glowa. I live in South China. I want to comment briefly on a few things that were said earlier. First of all, this bill should ban not just lead shot, but it should ban all lead ammunition for hunting. And there are alternatives out there. And the cost of ammunition, certainly the difference in the cost of ammunition between lead and non-lead shot is extremely minimal. That's quite frankly a red herring. And the more folks learn and understand about what is out there, I think the less of an argument that will be. This bill will undoubtedly be characterized by some as anti-hunting or an anti-gun bill in an effort to win support from the hunting sympathizers. This is anything but an anti-hunting bill. Unfortunately, hunters and trappers have given themselves a bad reputation among the general public. Pictures of terrified wildlife, animals struggling to free themselves from traps, and smiling hunters with dogs over bloody carcasses do not engender public sympathy. Neither does killing eagles or poisoning the public with lead ammunition fragments. LD 1015 presents a win-win-win for wildlife, for hunters, and for public health. It will save the lives of eagles and other animals, and it will send the message to the general public that many hunters do care about more than killing. There are many good reasons to ban lead ammunition for hunting in Maine, and there's not a single good reason not to. Lead ammunition fragments poison animals and humans that consume them. The field dressing of animals can leave behind lead fragments that are consumed by eagles and other wildlife. Lead fragments in coyote bait are consumed by wildlife, including eagles. Maine's Hunters for the Hungry program accepts and disperses wild game meat that is likely contaminated with lead bullet fragments. State of Maine Department of Inland Fisheries and Wildlife and Maine Department of Health and Human Services have known about this for years and have done nothing about it. Many Mainers, including children, consume wild game meat. There is no program in Maine to monitor lead levels in children who regularly consume wild game meat. No amount of lead is safe for consumption by children. There are many safe, reliable alternatives to lead ammunition for hunting. The state of California banned hunting with lead ammunition in 2019 after a 5-year period to educate hunters and to give the firearms and ammunition industry's time to adapt. This bill is anything but premature. Because California has already made the transition to non-lead ammunition for hunting, Maine can learn from California and will not have to reinvent the wheel. Non-lead ammunition is about as expensive as better quality lead ammunition. According to Peter Tyra, Public Information Officer for the California Department of Fish and Wildlife, quote, the non-lead ammunition offerings improve every year, both in terms of variety of offerings and performance. The state of California lists more than 60, that's 60, manufacturers of certified non-lead ammunition. Huntingwithnonlead.org lists 3 reasons to use non-lead ammunition. 1, it is extremely effective. 2, it ensures the highest quality meat. And 3, it prevents lethal collateral damage to wildlife. LD 1015, as written, is a good start, but it should be amended to provide for a phase-in period of up to 3 years, a program of hunter education on the use of non-lead ammunition, and an enforcement penalty provision. Thank you very much. And I included with my written testimony a whole bunch of links that I encourage the committee members to look at and hopefully educate themselves about this issue. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Seeing none. Thank you for your testimony.
Thank you.
Next is David Trahan.
The Honorable Senator Dill, Representative Landry, members of the Inland Fisheries and Wildlife Committee. My name is David Trahan. I'm Executive Director of the Sam Institute for Legislative Action, testifying in opposition to LD 1015 or 1015, an act to ban hunting with ammunition that contains lead. Our organization has continued to educate our hunting community on the benefits and drawbacks of non-lead ammunition, and we will continue to support this ongoing education work. But we do not support a ban on ammunition containing lead for the purposes of hunting. I can't imagine such a ban and how it would be implemented at this time when ammunition is scarce at best, and in some cases non-existent. It is always tragic when a bald eagle passes from lead ingestion, but we believe a more aggressive education plan would help reduce the exposure bald eagles have to lead bullet fragments. With that thought in mind, we would recommend this committee consider amending this bill into a resolve directing the department to come back next session with a plan to work with the outdoor community and other stakeholders on an education plan to reduce lead exposure. That's the end of my written testimony, but I would like to expand on it a little bit given the testimony that I've heard. First of all, I would say that sportsmen and women out there are not suffering from pure laziness. I think it's mostly a need to be educated on how to handle animals once they've been harvested using a lead bullet. For example, and first I would say that I'm very aware of Avian Haven, having volunteered for them for years and transported their injured birds. There are people in the outdoor community that are very aware of the problem and want to do what we can to help. There are a series of things that I think the general public could benefit from if they had information related to them. First of all, disposing of carcasses that have been harvested with a lead bullet. For many years, wardens, others disposed of deer that had been hit by cars that had been dispatched by police officers and wardens on the ice for the eagles to feed on. The Department of Inland Fisheries and Wildlife has remedied that problem and made significant advances in dispatching animals in a manner not using lead. So kudos to them. The second thing, police officers, deputies are the folks that show up at deer car accidents. Many times those animals are still alive and are dispatched and left in the woods. An education plan amongst law enforcement could be helpful in reducing the amount of exposure when an animal is left in the woods. The other animals that might be used on the ice to attract coyotes and do other types of feeding of the birds, raptors, basically. In educating the public that when they put an animal on the ice, it could have lead fragments in it. And I know people would not do that. They would do what was responsible for the animals. Finally, well, actually, 2 more things. There are oftentimes animals that are dispatched by farmers and left out for animals to feed from, letting farmers know that shooting an animal and leaving it out for the eagles to feed on could be dangerous to the bald eagle. And finally, disposing of carcasses at the dump. I can tell you that I've often viewed the eagles at the Augusta dump and seen 25 to 30 bald eagles feeding. There's a series of education opportunities for the general public and for sportsmen and women. The sources of lead are multifaceted, and it warrants a comprehensive education plan. All of us care about the bald eagle. I served on this prestigious committee when the bald eagle was listed, and I helped draft the legislation that protects it today. All of us care about bald eagles. Let's not start blaming and pointing fingers, because this problem is more than just with sportsmen and women. It's a societal problem, and we need to educate, and we're very supportive of that effort. Thank you, and I'll take any questions.
Are there any questions for Mr. Peter Lyford, Representative?
Thank you, Mr. Trahan. Do you consider the bald eagle a predator?
Absolutely, it's a scavenger and a predator. I've been very close to bald eagles in the woods, in the fields. And so, yeah, I've seen them. They will kill, absolutely, but then they'll scavenge as well. We have at our education facility within eyesight of my desk, we have several bald eagles that come in and feed in our pond, our trout pond. They're just a wonderful animal, and we welcome them to our property. But yes, they're very well populated now across the state. We support continued protections on the bald eagle, and we certainly support protecting them by reducing their exposure to lead.
Have you ever watched them take baby robins out of the nest or baby blue jays out of the nest?
I've seen them take, I've never seen them take birds like that. I know crows and ravens do. I've never seen a bald eagle do that. The bald eagle is doing exactly what the bald eagle was designed to do. Mother Nature created the bald eagle. It's a magnificent bird, and it's going to do what bald eagles do. But we should all work to reduce the amount of exposure. Anybody who's ever watched what happens to a bald eagle when it's poisoned by lead, it'll just rip your heart out. It's tragic to see. But I think working with some of the people that are on this call and the department, we could go a long ways towards saving bald eagles. But I hate it when people get fingers pointed at them like they're the problem, when that's not always true. It's a collective societal problem, and we should fix it that way.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions for Mr. Trahan? Thank you for your testimony this morning.
Thank you.
Let's see. Next up is Don Kleiner, followed by John Simino, Joseph Mullen, and Lauren LePage.
Good. I think it's still morning. Good morning, Senator Dill, Representative Landry, and distinguished members of the committee. I'm Don Kleiner. I live in Union, and here speaking on behalf of the members of the Maine Professional Guides Association this morning. You have my written testimony. I won't bore you with the details. Just a couple of points that I would like to raise that I think are really salient here. First is hunters are the first conservationists, and any implication that they do not have conservation at the top of their list, frankly, I find offensive. Also, for you to know, hunting enjoys broad public support. It is not something practiced by a small segment of the population and disliked by most of the population. Polling does not bear that out. And finally, an observation as a guide who's been around for a really long time. I remember when ospreys were a big deal and you would point one out and everybody oohed and ahed. Then I remember when eagles were a big deal and you pointed one out and everybody oohed and ahed. Today, it's very rare for me to have a trip of any kind on any body of water or parts of northern Maine where I do not see an eagle with my clients during that trip. What that speaks to is how much more prevalent eagles are than they were even 20 years ago or 10 years ago. I think that part of the reason we're seeing more of them dead and dying is very simply there are more of them. It's just a law of mathematics. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony this morning. John Semino.
Good morning, Senator Dill, Representative Landry, and other distinguished members of the Committee on Inland Fisheries and Wildlife. I'm John Semino. I'm a board member with the New England chapter of Backcountry Hunters and Anglers, and also a resident of Durham, Maine. Backcountry Hunters and Anglers seeks to ensure North America's outdoor heritage of hunting and fishing in a natural setting. Our members recognize that sound management of fish and wildlife and their habitats is integral to advancing our mission. And this bill speaks to wildlife health as impacted by lead and ammunition. While the New England chapter supports the intent of this bill to reduce the unintended negative effects of lead ammunition used in hunting on wildlife, we oppose a legislative ban on hunting with lead ammunition to accomplish that goal. In response to an urging of our membership, we joined the North American Non-Lead Partnership in 2018. In 2020, BHA signed on as a partner of North American Lead Partnership, a leading national organization to provide resources and education to promote the voluntary use of non-lead ammunition through its work with hunting groups, state agencies, and other wildlife organizations. We believe providing education and encouraging voluntary use of lead ammunition for hunting is the best approach to address the unintended effects that lead ammunition have on wildlife. The reasons for a voluntary approach are hunters need to learn about the alternatives of lead and see the results before they can have confidence in the effectiveness. To build that confidence and support for non-lead ammunition will require education, effective communication, peer-to-peer sharing of knowledge and experiences using the lead-free ammunition. At this point in time, manufacturers only produce limited quantities of non-lead ammunition and is not available in all calibers used for big game hunting. Currently, ammunition of all sorts is in high demand and extremely unlikely there will be adequate supplies of non-lead ammunition for the foreseeable future. We encourage the department to continue outreach efforts and look forward to non-lead demonstration days once COVID restrictions are eased. While we oppose legislative ban on lead ammunition as proposed in this legislation, the New England chapter of BHA and its main members will continue to support efforts to reduce the unintended effects of hunting with lead ammunition. We look forward to working with the department in its efforts to promote the voluntary use of non-lead ammunition within the framework of the North American Non-Lead Partnership. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions? All right, seeing none. Next is Joseph Mullen.
Good morning, Chairman Dill, Chairman Landry, and honorable members of the committee. My name is Joe Mullen. I'm from Grafton, Massachusetts. I'm the Northeastern States Assistant Manager for the Congressional Sportsmen's Foundation. I appear before you this morning to express my opposition to LD 1015. I've also submitted written testimony to the committee. So for right now, I'd just like to touch upon some of the high-level points with my time. Sound science-based fish and wildlife management decisions are and must remain based on population level trends and impacts. I know that the story was recently published about the eagle named 2U that reportedly died from lead shot, but from a broader approach, the population of bald eagles in the United States is flourishing, having more than quadrupled since 2009, according to the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. If the use of lead ammunition while hunting has had the claimed negative effect on the bald eagle population, then quite honestly, the opposite is what we would be seeing. With my testimony, I also submitted a report that takes a look at the effects of human ingestion of lead shot, which I encourage you to take a look at. The takeaway from this study was that you would have to eat significant bloodshot burger frequently enough to maintain metallic lead in your digestive system for these fragments to be a dangerous source of lead poisoning. And, you know, I myself as a hunter take great care in removing all of the lead shot from any, you know, birds or big game that I do take. So, you know, there is a great amount of care that sportsmen and women are putting into cleaning their meat. Finally, this shouldn't come as a surprise to those of you on the committee who hunt and recreational shoot, but We're seeing an unprecedented demand for ammunition across this country. The price of non-lead ammunition options can be wildly expensive. Just this past Saturday, while I do live in Massachusetts, I went to the closest Cabela's to my house, and the only non-lead option that I saw was tungsten super shot. The box was $65 for a shot for 5 shells, which comes out to $13 per shot. That was the only available non-lead option that I saw actually stocked. So with manufacturers already struggling to meet the demand for traditional ammunition, a ban on lead ammunition for all hunting throughout the state may serve as a hurdle for hunter participation. Once again, I would like to reiterate my opposition to LD 1015. I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Mr. Mullen? Seeing none, again, thank you for your testimony.
Thank you.
Next up is Lauren LePage, followed by Matt Gilly, Jerry Scribner, and Jonathan Martell.
Good morning, Senator. Can you hear me?
Having problems, Lauren, can't hear you.
Good morning.
Still problems.
Can everyone hear me?
Can now.
You know what, Senator, is this better? Can you hear
Yeah.
me now?
I can hear you now.
Okay, great. I have a relatively weak internet connection, so my video is not streaming. But my name is Lauren LePage, and I'm the state director for the National Rifle Association here in Maine. And we would like to express our strong opposition to this piece of legislation. Instead of echoing my written remarks that I've submitted, which cover a lot of what's been said, I just want to focus on one additional point. And that is that a decrease in the purchase of traditional ammunition would adversely affect conservation funding in Maine. Hunters are the largest supporters of conservation through excise taxes levied on ammunition, firearms, and hunting equipment by the Pittman-Robertson Act of 1937. That generated more than $6 million in funding for conservation efforts in 2020 alone within the state of Maine. So with that, and because my internet connection is a little bit spotty, I will defer to my written remarks, which cover most of what's been said, and urge the committee to oppose this legislation. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions? All right, seeing none. Thank you for your testimony. Next is Matt Gilly.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Thank you for your time to the distinguished members of the committee. I'm a lifetime Maine resident. I live down in Harpswell, Maine, and I'm an avid hunter and outdoorsman, and also a commercial lobsterman. And I'm speaking today in opposition to LD 1015. A lot of the points I had have already been said, so I'm not going to reiterate anything. I think this kind of falls in line with the battle we're facing on the water with the right whales. The eagle population has exploded. They've been taken off the endangered species list. Well, we don't want to see any eagles die. I think we need to look more at the birth rates than the death rates, and the birth rate is continuing to increase, so the population is doing well. This is just a way to ban hunting. As somebody who reloads ammo and makes my own bullets, I can tell you from personal experience, I've been waiting 3 months on a back order to receive non-lead ammunition to put in my bullets. So it is not readily available at this point. And even lead ammunition is not available. This is just a backdoor way to eliminate hunting and outdoor recreation in my mind. Thank you for your time and have a good day.
Thank you for your testimony. Are there any questions? Seeing none, we'll move on. Next is Jerry Scribner. Mr. Scribner, you're muted. We can see you, but there we go. Try it now.
There we go. Sorry about that, sir.
No problem. Trust me,
Thank
we've
you.
all done it many times. Many
Thank you,
times
Senator.
today.
I hear you. Thank you, Senator Dill. Thank you, committee members. My name's Jerry Scribner from Belgrade, Maine. I'd like to speak in opposition to LD 1015. I've been a member of the Inland Fisheries and Wildlife Committee for 5 years. And today I'm just going to be representing myself, though, and sharing my thoughts on this proposed legislation. I'm not going to try to cover some of the points that are already covered. I thought David Tran did a fine job in terms of giving you the Sportsmen's Alliance of Maine's position, which I'm a proud member. I would like to share, though, the position of the Boone and Crockett Club, who I am also a member of, as it relates to hunting with non-lead ammunition. The Boone and Crockett Club supports the North American model of wildlife conservation, which specifically recognizes science as the basis for informed management and decision-making processes. Scientific wildlife management recognizes that while the mortality of an individual bird is a concern, it may not necessarily indicate a threat to an entire population and warrant a blanket nationwide or statewide ban of lead ammunition. The club urges agencies and organizations to promote scientific research about the effects of lead ammunition on avian scavengers and support needed policies and management actions based on sound, peer-reviewed science that manages wildlife at the population level. While the club supports current federal regulations pertaining to the use of lead shot for all waterfowl, regardless of location, it maintains that state wildlife agencies, not federal, state legislators or voters, are in the best position to determine if another species within their state is at risk, and if this situation warrants restriction on the use of lead ammunition. For this reason, the club believes that if an individual state wildlife agency decides that lead exposure represents a population level issue for a particular species in a given area, it should be up to that agency to implement targeted solutions that do not unnecessarily restrict hunting or shooting opportunities, including hunter education, voluntary programs, or mandatory programs using suitable ammunition alternatives. Boone and Crockett Club also supports a fair chase hunting ethic, which includes sportsmen making personal choices to ensure the ethical hunting of game to benefit wildlife conservation in general. Sportsmen should be aware of potential unintended consequences to non-hunted species, and if they feel this may be a concern in the areas where they hunt, the club supports sportsmen choosing to use alternative ammunition. So given all that, which I definitely support, I also definitely appreciate IFW's direction in terms of the use of non-lead ammunition. In my speaking for myself, in terms of my particular position, I strongly believe that education and public outreach led by IFW is the better approach on this issue. It's been mentioned that California has had this ban in place since 2019. The bill that they signed into law was signed into law in October 2013, and they phased it in over a 6-year period. During that time, they conducted extensive public outreach, and the proposed regulations phased in the non-lead requirement. And this outreach effort included question and answer sessions at sportsman shows, meetings with hunting organizations, and a series of 8 public workshops throughout the state. Then CDF&W then presented the draft regulations as modified by the public input from these workshops to the Fish and Game Commission, and the department went from there, finally adopting the final piece of this in 2019. There's a major difference between what we have in Maine with the eagle population, where we have a population.
Can you quickly summarize, Mr. Schreiber? You're well over your time, so.
Sorry about that. Yeah. So basically, in Maine, we do not have a species, the bald eagle, that is threatened or endangered at this point. It's been taken off that list. California did. The condors, they took the appropriate action. We simply need to, I think, follow the direction of IFW and phase in whatever modifications we need to make with lead ammunition. Thank you.
Are there any questions for Mr. Scribner? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony. And I'll just remind everybody, I do give you 3 minutes. When the timer goes off, I will now say that the timer is going off and have you summarize quickly. So with that, I will move on to Jonathan Martell, followed by Stephen Bro, Diane Wynn, and Eliza Donahue. So Mr. Martell.
Good afternoon. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Hello, my name is Jonathan Martell. I'm from Sanford. I'm the head of the Gun Owners of Maine, Southern Maine chapter. Thank you everyone for your time. I urge you to vote against LD 1015. First and foremost, I believe these bans are a foot in the door for ammunition bans. And I know that's been talked about a little bit, but it's still an issue that keeps coming up every year, incremental bans. As you may know or not know, any ammunition is almost impossible to purchase right now. Lead-free ammunition is fairly rare, it's expensive, and it's not made in all the calibers that you'll see out there, especially hunters in Maine hunt with all kinds of different stuff. And the ammunition that's currently available is only in extremely popular calibers. This ban would render ammunition currently owned by hunters useless for hunting purposes, and game populations would suffer. This would cause an increase in vehicle accidents, potential starvation of game as food supplies become unlimited. And just to note, lead-free ammunition will always be more expensive than conventional ammunition because it is specialty. The time frame for availability is very arbitrary. We don't know what will be available a year from now, 2 years from now. So I think trying to put something through right now and with an assumed time frame doesn't make a whole lot of sense. There are lots of studies around the lead poisoning, and there's actually some contention around sources of lead. There are other environmental sources of lead that get into the food supply for these birds. And one study I came across is that the California bans for the condors showed no difference in the lead levels even after having a ban since 2008 and a 99% compliance rate by hunters. So, and the eagle population is clearly growing right now because I see them everywhere. And I grew up in Maine, and you would very, very rarely see them when I was a kid, and now you see them all the time. So I believe that this bill is bad for Maine. It has no positive outcome for the wildlife, game management personnel, or the citizens of Maine. So I urge that you vote against this bill. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Are there any questions? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to Stephen Bro.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Good morning to Senator Dill, Representative Landry, and the fine members of the Inland Fisheries and Wildlife Committee. My name is Stephen Bro of Bangor. A lot of what I have prepared today has already been spoken of, so I'm going to kind of edit with my eyes and hope that I don't wind up sounding like an auctioneer. When I first heard of this bill coming forth again, I immediately reached out to the sponsor to ask some questions and for some clarification. The bill as written is not what is discussed at the time. It's very poorly worded, vague, with a lot of unintended consequences. Many hunters use legacy firearms handed down from grandfathers, great uncles, fathers that are carried and used for sentimental reasons. These firearms aren't designed or intended for use with steel or copper-based ammunition. It causes additional wear of the firearms barrels, and with continuous use can lead to catastrophic failures, injuries, and possible deaths to the shooter or others nearby. Steel shot used for hunting upland game, due to its harder composition, can ricochet off hard surfaces such as trees and rocks, also endangering nearby hunters. These harder elements prevent further safety concerns because they can become embedded in trees and cause damage to sawmill equipment, threatening the safety of loggers and mill workers. That is not thought of or addressed in this bill. We've talked about the availability of ammo. I can tell you that manufacturers simply are not going to retool and create solutions. Ammo is selling out to the point manufacturers can't keep up with the volume for traditional products, let alone develop a high volume, low cost product for a small niche market here in Maine. I spoke with one employee of a specialty ammo dealer, and he gave an estimate of over 500 calibers that they had in stock or access to, with well under 20% even having a listing for non-lead based ammo. This leaves a huge swath of hunters, sportsmen, and women, along with the next generation of children, with no realistic opportunity to load their firearm for use to put meat on the table. And for many less fortunate, the idea of purchasing another firearm is simply out of the question. Consequence 3, every year, Maine sporting camps host hundreds of out-of-state hunters that pay hundreds to thousands of dollars for a week-long guided hunt. Without the ability to use traditional ammo and no mass market alternatives available, the guide services stand to lose a large portion of their livelihood. Surely the supporters of this bill don't intend for that to happen, but that will be the effect. Either they know it and they simply don't care about people. Consequence 4. Steel shot doesn't perform as well as lead for hunting, particularly at longer distances, leading to higher numbers of crippled game. For those of you that are concerned about animals, leaving more wounded and dying game in the woods, frankly, sounds rather counterproductive. Alternative ammo other than steel shotgun ammo is indeed far more expensive than lead and prices less affluent hunters out of the sport. In a state controlled by the party that is supposedly so concerned about the equality of outcome, this further widens the gap between the haves and the have-nots. There isn't any
summarize in a couple sentences?
Sure, there isn't any other way to say that. It's going to turn hunting into something that only the well-off can afford. Maine hunters should not be forced in giving up lead ammo, as there are significant alternate consequences that can arise from the use of non-lead based ammo materials as well. And hunters and anglers are providing a large portion of the money for conservation. Any increase or decrease rather in the fees received from hunting is going to lead to less money available for conservation efforts itself. Is that what you want on your voting records? Thank you very much.
Yep. Are there any questions? All right, seeing none. Next is Diane Wynn. I thought I saw her their name once, but oh, there she is. Just bounce around on my screen. Good afternoon. Please unmute yourself and introduce yourself.
Senator Dill, Representative Landry, members of the committee. My name is Diane Wynn. I'm the Executive Director of Avian Haven, which is a wild bird rehabilitation center here in Freedom. Nearly all of the eagles that are found orphaned, injured, or sick in Maine come to our facility, and we currently test every eagle we admit for blood lead levels using a screening instrument that's marketed for testing human children in their homes. All of our test results from 2004 through 2020 have been shared with the Department of Inland Fisheries and Wildlife, and that agency is submitting a summary of those results. My written testimony contains a great deal more information than there is time for in this hearing, and I promise that I shall keep my oral testimony appropriately brief. Research has shown conclusively that the source of lead for eagles is fragments of spent ammunition and scavenged food that includes gut piles from big game, upland game birds, rodents, and so forth that are left in the field. Here in Maine, another likely source is contaminated meat used as coyote bait. Lead is extremely toxic to eagles. A collection of fragments smaller than the size of a grain of rice is sufficient to kill several. Birds with acute fatal exposures are typically too weak to stand, emaciated, anemic, mentally dull, and in extreme respiratory distress. They do not pass away quietly and peacefully. We euthanize cases like that when we see them, when they come through the door, and in my judgment, they're the lucky ones because their counterparts with lead exposures are succumbing in the field slowly and painfully. Short of a fatal exposure, an eagle that has eaten a smaller amount of lead may not be actively dying, but will have impaired perceptual motor coordination and will therefore be prone to accidents like vehicle collisions that could easily have been avoided by a healthy bird. Injuries sustained in such accidents are often too severe to repair. Of course, I'm in favor of the ultimate goal of removing lead for the environment, but I am testifying neither for nor against LD 1015 because in my judgment, this bill as written will not help to achieve that goal. Stakeholders with diverse interests need to collaborate on a solution that has widespread support. I believe the way to go at this time is continuing the educational outreach effort that's already begun, promoting a voluntary changeover to non-lead ammunition. I do not think the preemptive regulatory ban proposed in this bill is the way to go at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions? All right, seeing none. Next up is Eliza Donahue, followed by Mark Pokris.
Good afternoon, Senator Dill, Representative Landry, and members of the committee. My name is Eliza Donahue. I represent Maine Audubon and our 30,000 members and supporters. We are offering testimony neither for nor against this bill. You've heard from others. Lead is having an impact on our eagle and other scavenger populations. We are committed to finding a solution and are happy for this bill as an opportunity to begin what needs to be a much longer conversation that engages all stakeholders and that accounts for the wide variety of strategies that may be needed to address this problem. We are concerned, as you've heard from others, that this bill as drafted isn't responsive to the immediate concerns of stakeholders, especially the hunting community. And instead, we really request and our hope for the outcome from this public hearing and this bill is that the committee commit to understanding the impact of lead poisoning from lead ammunition on wildlife and human health, and that they commit, as the department has, to pursuing strategies that will lead to a lasting, broadly supported solution. As you've heard from many before us, education needs to be where we are committing our resources right now. And we're really grateful to the department, to the work they're doing right now to educate folks on non-lead alternatives and the impacts of lead ammunition on wildlife. I was happy to hear from others' interest in really broadening out this conversation and for many folks, not just to the department, but other hunting NGOs, et cetera, to take part in a broader education effort. I'm hopeful that in addition to engaging in that outreach, that we really make sure that those messages are hitting home. And that means, doing regular surveys and otherwise reaching out to impacted communities and making sure that they are receiving those messages, understanding, what are the barriers for the use of lead ammunition, how much folks are able to are engaging in the best practices as far as just properly disposing of gut piles, et cetera. So not just letting that education kind of go out into the community, but also really making sure that it is being intaken and acted upon by those stakeholders. We have submitted some pretty lengthy written testimony, encouraged the committee to take a look, but otherwise really thankful that I've heard so many folks today really acknowledge this is a problem, and I think reaffirm their commitment to educating whoever their constituency might be to the problem and the really kind of straightforward solutions that are out there to address it. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Seeing none, we'll move on to, thank you for your testimony, on to Mark Folkris.
Thank you for having me this morning. Can you hear me all right?
Yes.
Great, great. Well, Senator Dill, Representative Landry, and distinguished members of the committee, I really appreciate your having me here. I am a wildlife veterinarian. I have worked on wildlife health and specifically lead poisoning in Maine and New England for approaching 40 years now. I've worked extensively with rehabilitators like Avian Haven, with Inland Fisheries and Wildlife, with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. And in fact, we published a report in 2003 on lead poisoning in eagles in New England and showed that approximately 15% of the eagles that die in the region are dying from lead poisoning. And we can supply copies of that to the committee if as discussions go forward. One of the things I love about this morning's hearings, echoing what Eliza was saying from Maine Audubon, is the consensus that I hear from diverse audiences, from Maine Audubon, from Avian Haven, from Dave Trahan, on the need to be moving in a direction. And the direction that we need to move on is get rid of all these sources of lead. As somebody pointed out much earlier, we've gotten lead out of a lot of other things, out of most forms of gasoline, out of some kinds of solder, out of some kinds of paint. And it's a direction society is moving. And we need to be going further faster, honestly. There's still far too much lead available. As a wildlife veterinarian, I work on wildlife, but I've also taught in Tufts Public Health Program for 25 years, and I work a lot on human lead health issues as well. And I can tell you that it's not just Flint, Michigan, or Lewiston, Maine, that's having problems with lead in human beings. Some of that lead is from old paint, some of it's from old gasoline, but some of it's from food sources. And I can tell you that I have personally taken packages of venison and sausage out of people's freezers and x-rayed it and found lead fragments. I used to be a hunter. I'm still an angler. I don't hunt anymore, but I will no longer eat game meat that I haven't x-rayed because of the amount of lead that I find in it. And it's frightening to me. Now, I'm an adult male. Adult males are the least sensitive group to lead poisoning. I would never feed something like that to a child or, frankly, to a woman. There are significant other health effects that the human health community can tell you more about. So from my perspective, I've been a sportsman. I am a sportsman. This is not an anti-hunting bill. I know about the alternatives out there. I have talked to people at Barnes and Remington and Federal and Winchester. They all know that the writing is on the wall, that lead ammunition is going away. It's a question of how fast. All of them either have non-lead alternatives or are working on non-lead alternatives in a variety of different calibers. The market's going to change big time in the coming years. Other states are working on similar legislation. It's not just California. I'm working with people in Canada, in Illinois, Michigan, Minnesota, Pennsylvania, New York, and the European Union, Denmark, Sweden, Norway, Great Britain, Germany, on exactly this issue. And everyone is concerned about several things. One is the effect on wildlife, not just bald eagles. We're putting measurable tons of lead into our waters and lands. If we were an industry, we would be EPA cited for the amount of lead that we're putting into the environment. It is a human health risk in consuming this stuff, and lead is additive. It's not just the person who's ingesting lead from the venison and game meat. That little bit of lead that they may get is adding to the lead that they get from breathing air, or from the paint that's peeling in an old house, or from solder that's on their old pipes. And so we have to address this as a significant both wildlife, environmental, and public health issue. We have to be integrative. And as many people have said, this bill isn't the right bill. That's why I'm testifying neither for nor against. I want to be an information source and help us move in the right direction. If I could snap my fingers, I'd make all the lead ammunition illegal, but it's not a practical way to go. And when I say all the lead ammunition, having been a hunter, I know that I don't want to use different ammo for hunting game than I'm using on the range, because I want to get used to the ballistics. I want to be able to sight in my rifle. I got to be using the same ammo on the range as I am when I'm hunting. So
yes, please quickly summarize, Dr. Polkers.
Quickly summarize. We need to get rid of lead from all ammunition, ranges, everything else. This is a consistent direction that many agencies are going, and I'd like to see Maine be ahead of the curve. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Thank you for your testimony this morning.
Thank you so much.
Linda, that's all I have on my list. Is that it for this particular bill?
There was one late signer, Jake McGuigan, who is in the waiting room, if you would like to hear him.
Sure.
Thank you, Chair, members of the committee. I apologize for the late addition. I had a couple other virtual hearings going on in other states this morning. Got to manage them all. So I appreciate the opportunity. My name is Jake McWigan. I'm Managing Director of State Affairs for the National Shooting Sports Foundation. We represent manufacturers, retailers, ranges across the country, including all ammunition manufacturers around the country as well. I just wanted to speak real quickly to where we are on this. Obviously, the National Shooting Sports Foundation, as a trade association, opposes efforts to ban and restrict the use of traditional ammunition containing lead components. We echo the sentiments of many others that stated the need for non-mandatory measures, whether that's an education component or anything of that sort. We believe that people should be able to make their choices as to what they want to use. And the previous speaker did say something pretty succinct at the end, and this is what I'm dealing with in the state of California. Originally, it was about the California condor, and they banned traditional ammunition in the condor range in California. As condors continued to test positive with lead, higher blood lead levels, they then expanded that to a statewide ban in California. Now we're dealing with situations where they want to ban it at use of traditional ammunition at ranges and outdoor ranges. So that has to be a concern. It's not necessarily about the condor, it's about banning it completely. And right now we have a very difficult time of even finding ammunition. And I did want to point out the impacts that would happen to Maine. You'd have a loss of PR dollars, Pittman Robinson dollars, which we have seen in California. You're going to have a loss of revenue from hunting license drops. You're going to, obviously, there will be discussions further on about impacting ranges. And more importantly, there is no population impact to these eagles and to other wildlife. We are at the highest levels of population levels for many of these. And I just wanted to point out real quickly, U.S. Fish and Wildlife and American Bird Conservancy has a chart that basically says the impacts and the mortality rates for many of these birds. What's number one? 33% of it is a loss of habitat. Number two is 31.7 is collisions with birds. And let me remind you, windmills. Okay, as we continue to see pushes to expand windmills, a lot of these groups are asking for what I would call a take permit when dealing with some of these populations. 17% with domestic and feral cats, And I can continue on down the list, but actually I get to lead ingestion as 0.7% of the problem for bird mortality. So again, I've dealt with these bans. I was pretty much on the ground in California. As the doctor previous stated, I'm dealing with it in Illinois, Minnesota, Oregon, and New York. But just so you know, the only state that has this ban in place is in California. And I'm not entirely sure Maine legislators want to be linked to California on this as the second in the country. Thank you very much for your time. I would be happy to take any questions because I have dealt with this pretty extensively across the country. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Lightfoot.
Thank you, Senator Dill. Jake, where you deal with all major manufacturers, I kind of have the same question. Have you seen any research or effort by any of them to come up with a different ammunition than what we're presently using?
Appreciate the question, Representative. I think the concern we have to have is what are the alternatives, right? Let's assume we go to copper. And we've seen studies already talking about copper and its kind of negative impact on the environment. So the concern is the alternatives may be worse than the actual situation we currently have in their opinions. Now, mind you, there is a federal law, and that was a big issue in California, that restricts the materials you can use to make alternative ammunition because it would be quote unquote classified as armor piercing. So there is a federal law about armor piercing. So if you start going into categories like tungsten and various other metals, you may have a situation where they're not available because they would not qualify on the federal side. But right now, as anyone who is a hunter, a target shooter, or a firearms owner, finding any ammunition right now in any caliber is almost impossible. So if you continue to restrict that, it would add more issues to the mix right now for the foreseeable future, because many of these manufacturers, just so you know, are back ordered through the end of this year into 2022.
Thank you.
Thank you, Representative.
Are there other questions? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony.
Thank you for your time.
And with that, I will close the hearing on LD 1015. And we will take a break for lunch. It is 12:33 by my clock. We still have 2 bills to hear and a work session. So we'll start back up in a half hour. So we'll start at 1:05. And when we come back, Representative Landry will be in the chair. With that, thank you all. See you in a half hour.
Representative Landry. Did you see
Hello.
that? Hi, did you see that I emailed you an updated list?
No, I didn't. I didn't get the one from you. I actually got it from Senator Dill. I don't know why I couldn't get yours.
I don't know either, but I also listed it in the chat. So if you want to check there, that's the order.
Okay, I see. We're going to start with 1031.
Yep.
And I've got 1031, Representative Dillingham, Representative Terrio, Dan Scott, and Don Kleiner.
And there's two more after that. Those were added on. Are you looking in the chat or on the list?
Okay, yeah. David Trahan.
And above him, Troy Ripley.
And who?
Troy Ripley.
Okay, yeah.
Do you see that?
Don Kleiner, Ripley, and David Trahan. Okay.
Yes. Okay. That should be the list for that one. And then 1048 has not changed.
Okay, 48 is
1048.
Okay, very good. Representative Wadsworth, Dan Scott, Vincent Costelli, and Tim PD. Okay.
Yes.
It is unusual to have two from the department speaking, though.
Mm.
So you may want to ask if they both are speaking.
Okay.
You have both Dan Scott and Tim Peabody. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, I read both of those. One of them is for the other bill, but I can't remember which one is which.
Dan Scott's on 1031 and 1048.
Oh, okay. All right.
Okay.
It's an update from earlier today.
That was the list I received from the department, so.
Well, I'm sure we can figure it out.
I'm sure.
It's always nice to see them.
Yes.
Give it another minute, or we still got people coming in, Linda?
Yeah, well, we said 105, so I don't know about other people. So you got 1 minute, according to my computer clock anyway.
Yep.
Yeah, Lester lost his internet service.
And it would be so unlike the legislature to start ahead of time instead of, after time. So.
And Senator and Representative, I'm seeing that the attendees list is cleaned out, but people who are testifying for this are no longer there. So I'm not sure what's happened, if they're going to sign back in.
I don't know. My list is still there.
It is.
Yep. I got 12 people in the waiting room.
Oh, I see why. Okay, never mind. All right. Tell you.
Isn't technology fun?
Anyway, it's 105, so.
105 and Representative Terrio's got a lot to do, so we want to see if we can get this going. Good afternoon. Welcome back, everybody. I don't know if there's who's here or not. I don't know if we need to reintroduce anyone, but as you know, we're all being streamed live, so pay attention to what we say. We're going to start off with LD 1031. That is an act to create an administrative review process for hunting violations. And this is brought to us by Representative Dillingham. Representative Dillingham here somewhere? Oh, okay, I can't see. There you go. Welcome.
Thank you. Would you like me to go ahead?
Please do.
All right. Good afternoon, Senator Dill, Representative Landry, and the distinguished members of the Joint Standing Committee on Inland Fisheries and Wildlife. I am Kathleen Dillingham, and I represent House District 72, which is comprised of the towns of Mechanic Falls, Otisfield, and Oxford. I come before you today to present LD 1031, an act to create an administrative review process for hunting violations. This bill was brought before this committee during the 129th legislature, was amended by this committee and received unanimous support. But due to the pandemic and the legislature's early adjournment, it was one of the many bills that never received a floor vote. The language before you is the amended language that the committee voted on. The intent of this bill is to allow for the Commissioner of Inland Fisheries and Wildlife to administer an administrative action when there has not been a criminal conviction or civil adjudication in regard to civil trespass. The bill is brought to you as a result of instances where individuals were shot and died from those injuries while on their private property by other individuals hunting on that property. In particular, the death of Megan Ripley, who was out with her horse and then was shot by an individual who had not received permission to hunt on the property. I believe Mr. Ripley will be testifying today, and those who have previously served on the committee did have the opportunity to hear his testimony last year as well. I'm happy that the committee and the department, along with the Sportsmen's Alliance of Maine and Mr. Ripley, were able to collaboratively create language that would give the commissioner some oversight in this area. I believe it is important that we protect our outdoor heritage and also address the unneeded trauma suffered by the Ripley family and others at the hands of those individuals that not take our hunting laws seriously and continuously violate them. I believe the department may have a few more technical language amendments they would like to make as well, and I will leave it to them to explain. Thank you for your time and consideration, and I'm happy to try to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you very much, Representative Dillingham. Does anyone have questions for the representative? Okay, seeing none, I don't see any anyway. We'll go to Representative Terrio.
Why?
I had you down as a co-sponsor in favor of.
Absolutely, I'm a co-sponsor, and I certainly, I guess I can say something. I wasn't planning on it, but yeah, we worked this bill last session, and I thought we did a very good job. I thought everybody came together with a very good conclusion that it was the right thing to do. And I hope that we can continue and do what the right thing is by passing this bill. I don't really have much more to say other than I know of all of the hard work that we put in. It seemed like everybody came away with a very positive attitude. So I thank you for everybody listening to me.
Thank you, Representative Terrio. You're right. We did put a lot of work in on this, and it did come out unanimous. And I didn't mean to put you on the spot, but I knew you could take it. Any other sponsors or legislators wishing to speak on this bill? Seeing none, we'll go to Colonel Scott.
Good afternoon, Senator Dill, Representative Landry, and members of the Inland Fisheries and Wildlife Committee. I am Dan Scott, Colonel of the Maine Warden Service at the Department of Inland Fisheries and Wildlife, speaking on behalf of the department in support of LD 1031. This bill establishes a procedure for the Commissioner of Inland Fisheries and Wildlife to take administrative action regarding civil trespass while hunting without first requiring a criminal conviction or civil adjudication. If a person alleged to have committed a violation of MRS Title 12, Section 10657, which is civil trespass, while hunting, is not charged with violating Section 10657, the Commissioner may initiate administrative proceedings, which include notice and an opportunity to be heard, and impose administrative penalties, including revocation of a license to hunt for up to 3 years. If the person violates Section 10657 while hunting and does not hold a hunting license, the Commissioner may refuse to issue a hunting license to that person for up to 5 years. The decision of the Commissioner may be appealed to the Superior Court. The department has been working with Mr. Ripley for a number of years on this issue and supports his overall goal of having a process where the Commissioner can take administrative action for the conduct of a hunter when the conduct is in violation of the law, but was not processed through the judicial system. The tragic circumstances that happened to Mr. Ripley should not have to be endured by anyone, and this bill would allow the Commissioner, under certain unique circumstances, after administrative review, to take action against a hunter who commits a civil trespass, but who isn't charged in the court of law. Through the administrative process, that person may have their hunting license suspended and be required to take an outdoor ethics training before reinstatement. The department supports the goal of this bill and the increased suspension duration described for each succeeding offense a person may make. In 2020, a similar bill, LD 2001, was amended and passed out of this committee, but was never enacted due to the COVID pandemic, causing an early adjournment of the legislature. As we read the bill carefully, we noted a possible error in wording that may change the original intent of the bill. We have made the bill sponsor aware of this. And I'll highlight those right now. Within section 1 and section 2 of the bill, it states the following italicized language. We believe that the reference to is not convicted or adjudicated should be replaced with will not be charged for a violation of a crime or civil violation for the alleged incident due to a denial by the prosecuting district attorney who has jurisdiction for the location where the incident occurred. We also would ask that the reference to the Director of the Bureau of Warden Service is replaced with Colonel, as that is the formal title the Director of Warden Service is given in Title 12. We appreciate your consideration to these topics. Please see our suggested amendments highlighted below for your reference. So we've highlighted some specifics around that language in our written testimony. I'll save you all the reading it right now. If you have questions for me, I'll be glad to answer them now or during the work session. Thank you.
Very good. Any questions for the Colonel? Seeing none, very good. We'll see you in the work session on that with those amendments, those changes anyway. Anyone else from the department? Okay, those speaking in favor, the first I have is Don Kleiner from the Maine Guides Association. Is he here, Linda? Oh, there he is.
He's here. Thank you, Representative Landry, Senator Dill, distinguished members of the committee. I will cut directly to the chase. As we were last time, we are supportive of this movement. And actually, I think the pandemic and the lack of action in the courts due to that pandemic, I think drives home the point for the need of something like this. And I think at some point in the future, we're going to need to have a similar conversation on different areas of law. But generally, we're very supportive of this compromise and how this language is developed, and urge you all to pass it. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you very much, Mr. Kleiner. That was relatively short. Where are we now? Next in favor, Mr. Ripley. Welcome.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Would you introduce yourself, please?
I will, Senator. My name is Troy Ripley. Thank you, Senator Dill, Representative Landry, and members of the board. I really just want to echo everything that's already been said, so I'll be brief. I just would have always been under the belief that the consequences of Donald Rogerson, Timothy Bean, and Robert Trundy most recently were patterns of bad behavior that went unchecked through his lifetime of poor hunting habits, and that this bill is an opportunity to intercede when in fact the local jurisdiction just doesn't see it as important. I thank all of you from last year that worked hard on it, and the opportunity to get the language in a fashion that everybody agreed to, and hopefully it can result in some change of behavior of people that the onesie twosies that think they don't have to follow the rules that the rest of us do. So I urge you to pass it, and thank you for your time.
Thank you very much for being here, Mr. Ripley. Next, I have David Trahan from SAM.
The Honorable Senator Dill, Representative Landry, members of the Inland Fisheries and Wildlife Committee. My name is David Trahan. I'm the Executive Director of the Sportsmen's Alliance of Maine Institute for Legislative Action, testifying in support of LD 1031, an act to create an administrative review process for hunting violations. This bill has taken a very long and twisted road to get to this place and time. It originated from a tragic and preventable incident that changed a family forever. Through persistence, compromise, and personal emotional pain, the Ripley family has taken a tragedy and channeled their energy into trying to prevent a similar hunting accident in the future. Our system of laws is supposed to work this way. From tragedy comes change. The real challenge for this committee and lawmakers in general is to try and devise laws that change personal behavior and teach the next generation how to act responsibly. Our organization had a hand in crafting the language that is in front of you today, and we feel it is constructed in a way to single out the bad actors that give all law-abiding sportsmen and women a bad name. In this case, the language in LD 1031 singles out individuals that do not respect the landowner's right to control who and what activities are conducted on their property. At the same time, LD 1031 ensures due process for the accused trespasser and a reasonable appeals process. The Sportsmen's Alliance of Maine Institute for Legislative Action would like to thank Representative Dillingham for introducing this bill, the Ripley family for their willingness to hear our concerns and mitigate them, and finally, we would like to thank the vast majority of sportsmen and women that maintain the highest level of hunting ethics and firearm safety. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Trahan. I see nobody else on the list. Do you have anybody, Linda?
No, that's all I have for this bill.
Okay, well, thank you very much all. With that, we will close the hearing on LD 1031 and move on to the next item that we have, which is LD 1048, an act to promote hunting by persons with disabilities. And this bill is sponsored by Representative Wadsworth of Hiram. Welcome.
Good afternoon, everyone. Chair Landry and Chair Dill, distinguished members of the Inland Fisheries and Wildlife Committee. My name is indeed Nathan Wadsworth, and I represent House District 70, which includes 5 towns in southern Oxford County: Hiram, Porter, Brownfield, Freiburg, and Lovell. And I'm here today to present LD 1048, an act to promote hunting by persons with disabilities. This bill was brought forward to me by a constituent of mine, Vincent Bastilli of Brownfield. Vincent's a disabled veteran and has a scenic forest around his house, and he'd love to hunt deer in. But because of his disability, serving this country, he cannot get into the woods. Just a few miles west from his house in the town of Conway, New Hampshire, their state law allows persons holding a disabled veteran license or paraplegic license may bait deer from September 15th through December 15th statewide. The state of New Hampshire really doesn't allow deer baiting, just like Maine, but for very few exceptions, and this is one of them. What we are seeking is any veteran that's 50% or more disabled would have the ability to hunt white-tailed deer over bait during the deer season in Maine. Mr. Pastelli is zooming in today to provide testimony and can probably answer your questions you have better than I can. I appreciate the committee's time.
Thank you very much, Representative Wadsworth. Let's see, I see no other sponsors on here. Are there any legislators who would like to speak to this bill? Okay. Seeing none, I'll go then next to the department. Colonel Scott, would you like to speak to this, please?
Good afternoon, Representative Landry. I believe Deputy Commissioner Peabody is slated to provide our testimony. I think he's there. If he's not, I can come up with it, but that wasn't my
Okay.
plan.
Thank you. I see him there. I see you both on the list, so I went to you first. Not age before beauty, but no. Yes, Mr. Peabody.
Thank you, Representative Landry, for the compliment. Good afternoon, Representative Landry, Senator Dill, and members of the Inland Fisheries and Wildlife Committee. I'm Tim Peabody, Deputy Commissioner of the Department of Inland Fisheries and Wildlife, speaking on neither for nor against LD 1048. This bill is a concept draft with not a lot of detail in it, but with an overall goal of making changes to state law to promote hunting by persons with disabilities. The legislature over time has enacted laws, a significant number of laws that provide ways for disabled persons to hunt, fish, trap, and recreate at little or no cost. I'll summarize for the committee some of the various types of licenses and opportunities the department already offers to persons with disabilities. department currently offers the following license and permits for those with disabilities: a disabled veteran fishing, hunting, trapping, and archery license, a complimentary paraplegic hunting and fishing combo, a resident blind person fishing only license, a group home fishing permit, a complimentary fishing license for persons with brain injuries, a complimentary fishing license for person with developmental disabilities, group fishing permits for person with disabilities, and permits for persons with permanent physical disabilities, including options for permits to apply for accommodations through the Commissioner's office. Some examples would be hunting from a motor vehicle, permit to use a crossbow under age 65 in certain seasons, and a permit to hunt a week before or after the legal season begins. Other opportunities or accommodations that are provided include a person with a valid fishing license and has lost an arm can fish with a spinning rod in a fly fishing only waters. The special analyst deer permits for persons who have had lower extremities amputated. There's opportunities for disabled veterans. We have a depredation disabled veteran moose hunt. We have a depredation disabled veteran bear hunt down east. We have a disabled veteran turkey hunting down at Pineland Farms in New Gloucester. We also allow a law went into effect last year to allow someone to give their moose permit away to a disabled veteran and transfer the permit to a disabled veteran. We also offer accommodations to persons who are illiterate or physically impaired in our testing processes. That's for hunter safety and our guides tests. We have automated phone services, interpretation services for those that are disabled. We have language-based preferences on our website. And we have also a web page that provides all these, outlines all these opportunities for people with disabilities. Most of these licenses and permits must be applied for directly to the licensing staff in Augusta, as opposed to being offered online due to some application processes and procedures. So we do have plenty of opportunity here, and certainly willing to engage in more conversations. And I'd be happy to answer any questions at this time or during the work session.
Thank you, Mr. Peabody, Deputy Commissioner. Does anybody have any questions? Yes, Senator Dill. You're muted?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I was trying to find it before I started talking for a change. It's usually the other way around, is everybody. The question I have for you, Deputy Commissioner, I just see an enforcement problem developing from the standpoint of, you know, if a disabled person puts out a bait pile, how do you prevent someone else from hunting at least near it, maybe not over it, but near it? And, you know, is that because, oops, I found this bait pile, so I'm going to sit 300 yards away where I think the deer may be coming from, or something like that? Do you see it as an enforcement nightmare going forward if we allow this?
I don't know if it would classify as a nightmare, but it would classify as an enforcement challenge. I would certainly agree with that, Senator.
Okay. We'll take the nightmare out of it and just call it a challenge then. Thank you.
Very good. Any other questions? Seeing none, I will leave the door open for Mr. Pastelli, is it? Can you bring him in, Linda?
I thought I did. He is in. He's down at the bottom. He just needs to unmute and be visible, if that's possible for him.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can. Welcome. Could you introduce yourself, please?
Yes, my name is Vincent Pastelli. And by the way, good afternoon, representatives and members of the Fish and Wildlife Committee. I'm from Brownfield, Maine. I am a disabled veteran, 90%. I had a meeting and discussed this with our representative, Nathan Wadsworth, because a lot of the people that, I talk to in the community that are disabled cannot walk very far. Some of them walk with canes in the woods. I do. And the opportunity for them to hunt deer is very limited. I checked with New Hampshire to find out what they had, and they have a very good program for their disabled veterans. One of the questions I heard asked was the enforcement. If you are a disabled veteran, you receive from the VA a letter similar to this one, and it goes to the town office, and the letter, states your service connection, the percentage, and your compensation, and it goes once a year. All they would have to ask for would be either a copy of that record, and it says right on mine, service-connected disability, yes. Your combined service-connected evaluation is 90%, and your compensation for effective December 2019 is currently this amount. I'm not talking about every, buddy. I'm talking about the people are 50% or more disabled. I applied for the Maine moose hunt for the disabled veterans, and it says right on the application, you must be 50% or more, to apply for this. So I'm not saying that, that this has to be for everybody, but I'm saying it has to be for people who have problems walking. I have a shoot from vehicle, license right now, and I have a Kawasaki mule that I use to get around my property because I can't walk 100 yards. So my discussions, with the committee is to find a way, like New Hampshire did, to help their disabled veterans that have physical impairments. I realize that the commissioner was on and he talked about all the variations and all the opportunities, but they don't give a veteran the opportunity who cannot walk very far, the opportunity to really hunt deer like he used to. And I do have, the license, and I do have the complimentary licenses, and I've had them for years. So I think that we ought to at least study ways, maybe talk to some of the people in New Hampshire, find out how the program is working for them. And then in the work session, try to come up with some kind of a situation that'll help us. That's all I ask, and I thank you for listening to my opinion.
Thank you very much, Mr. Pastelli. I see that Representative Terrio has a question for you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. It's actually not for you. It's for Deputy Commissioner Peabody. Don't we allow people with disabilities to hunt from a four-wheeler? So if they can't get around, they can actually ride on a four-wheeler to their place of hunting and hunt right from a four-wheeler?
That's correct, Representative Terrio. That's one of the places that I highlighted in the current laws.
Okay. Are there any other questions? Okay, well, thank you all. With that, we will close the public hearing on LD 1048. Thank you. And I think the only thing we have left today is a short work session on LD 544 that we worked the other day to referring to lodge moose permits. I will begin the work session on LD 544. Senator Black or Senator Terrio, were you going to talk on this?
I didn't realize you got.
Senator, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to promote you.
That's cool. No, I thought we were trying to do a reconsideration.
Yes, we do. And we have to bring it back and request a reconsideration.
I would like to request a reconsideration of that bill since I was voted on the prevailing side for 544.
Okay, thank you. Representative Hepler.
I'll second that.
You seconded that, okay. Very good. The issue was a member wanted to change his vote, and Representative Lyford?
Yes, thank you. I would like to change my vote from yes to no.
Okay. And Senator Dill, what is the procedure? Just take a vote?
We just have to take a new vote. You can ask for discussion though, because what has happened now, we have a new motion. We got to first off take a vote on the reconsideration technically, but we can just do that by a show of hands.
Okay, that sounds good. Show of hands.
So, yep, it's all reconsidered, and Representative Life had just told you why he wanted it reconsidered. So it's now up to us to have a discussion, and then we can vote on. We'll have to have a new motion, which is the same motion as it was in, so the same position to vote on.
Okay. Representative Terrio.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion that we pass the bill the way we did it. I can't remember.
Ought not to pass.
Oh, sorry. Boy.
It was ought not to pass.
Ought not to pass.
Ought not to pass. I'd like to hear the bill so that we can make sure that we're voting on the right thing.
Sure. So you're voting, you're making a motion ought not to pass, and is there a second? And seconded by Representative Hepler. So there we are. We now have it back in position to ask any questions, discussion, and then you can take it away, Representative Landry.
Yes, thank you. John, would you reread the bill for Representative Terrio?
Yeah, so just a reminder, this is the bill that would repeal the provision in law that grants moose permits to hunting outfitters through the separate chance lottery. So by voting ought not to pass, you'll be keeping the current law with regard to the lodges and the permits.
Any other questions on that? Any discussion? Linda, would you call the vote?
Yes. Representative Lyford,
No.
you're voting against that motion?
No. I think the motion is ought not to pass. So I think
you want to say yes.
I'm going to say yes. How many times can we reconsider?
I shouldn't go first. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Representative Mason,
Yes.
Representative Hepler,
Yes.
Senator Black,
Yes.
Senator Dill,
Yes.
Representative Landry,
Yes.
Representative Terrio,
Yes.
Representative Ordway. Is he left? Representative Alley. And Representative Nadeau.
Yes.
And so that's 2. So that's 9 in favor, and there are 1, 2, 3, 4 absent.
Very good. That will conclude the work session on LD 544 with a vote of 9 in favor and 4 absent. Thank you very much. Is there anything else, Linda?
Not on my schedule, no.
Nothing else before us?
John, anything
You're
else?
good. I think you're good to go.
Okay.
Okay. Well, do we need a motion to adjourn from somebody? Representative Mason. And seconded by Representative Alley.
Oh.
Show of hands. Very good. Thank you all. Have a great day.